Betty, bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone! I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Let me explain something to you. I am not Mr. Lebowski. You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the dude.
No one is to stone anyone until I blow this whistle.
You can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hubba hubba.
Welcome back to the Zedos Gang podcast. After a long hiatus, I am back. I think I was on last week actually, but who cares? I'm back. How's everyone today? What's been going on with you guys?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, doing well.
Okay. Ken just launched his podcast today. And
finally,
the Creative Control podcast, and congratulations for that. We've got lots of episodes to go. You've banked up a few, so
yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna publish a new episode every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Okay. So we've got a few in the bank. Conscious that some of them might be getting old news because obviously just everything keeps changing these days, and there's always new news, there's always new things going on, so trying to get ahead of the curve of a lot of stuff. So
don't worry, COVID will bring you up.
I'll be back in line. Exactly. I'll be back in line. But no, so I appreciate all you guys' support, and for any Zedo Gang listeners out there, it's starting to appear on all platforms, so you can check it out on YouTube now if you type in Creative Control. It's on my channel, Ken Talks Film. It's on Stitcher, it's on Deezer, it's on Spotify. Got the confirmation from iTunes today, so it'll be on there in a couple of hours. So it's popping up everywhere.
Yep, go listen. It's
SoundCloud. It's on there.
Yep, SoundCloud. It's in a lot more places as well. I've been doing a bit of placing. So after the podcast, I'll show you where it's all at. It's on 15 now.
Oh, brilliant.
So.
Okay. It's pending to go on Amazon Music. It's pending on iHeartRadio.
It should be on there now.
On there now. Brilliant. Podcast Addict is on, Podchaser, Deezer, Listen Notes, Player FM. Yeah. It's everywhere.
Yeah. We're trying to take over the world.
I am like Corona. I am everywhere.
What that means is that everyone who knows you has no excuse to not listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. I want listeners, I want subscribers, but most importantly, I want you guys, listeners to enjoy it. That's the main thing. Sacha and Neil have been on most episodes. We've got a few other people, Alex and Andreas and Chris and Chris Hogley, so and Rita, so just getting loads of different people all the time on different opinions, different views, different ideas, and so I hope you enjoy it, and just give us the feedback in the comments, and let me know what we can change to make it more enjoyable for you.
Okay, all right. Okay, we'll get straight into the news then, guys. Or is it the trailers? Are we going straight to the trailer search?
Yeah, straight to the trailers. The first trailer we have is Christmas Chronicle 2. It's the season to be jolly with Kurt Russell. And I didn't even know Goldie Hawn was in these films, but hey, I guess she's working again. I didn't see the first one. I'm expecting this to be really Christmassy. I know loads of people loved it. I know people in in some of my WhatsApp groups that have kids and stuff, they fucking enjoyed the fuck out of this movie. Guys, have you seen it? It's got Kurt Russell in it. It can't be that, but no one's seen it. What the fuck are we talking about?
I've seen the trailer. It's like a 30-second teaser. Yeah, it's like a 30-second teaser. I suppose if you know the first film, the second one, it's just, it kind of brings you back into that world. It is super, super Christmassy, cheesy, over the top kind of thing. Goldie Hawn looks scary, but she needs to stop with that face, man. But yeah, I think he'll do, it's going to be a difficult Christmas for a lot of people this year, and anything that can kind of make that easier, make that a little bit more fun, great, fantastic. And I hope people watch it and enjoy it. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I just hope it does well, and I hope it's bring people a bit of Christmas cheer at the end of the year.
See, now I, like everyone on this podcast, I haven't seen it, but in order to watch the kind of teaser for the second one, I watched the trailer for the first one.
Right.
And when I watched it, all I really thought was, I was like, okay, it's not the same idea, but it just kind of reminded me of Tim Allen's The Santa Claus a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and I saw it and I was like, okay, it looks like it looks like, you know, it's worth a watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it's just like, okay, like, as you perfectly said, Ken, Christmas is gonna be shit this year. So like, shit with a capital T at the end.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. But someone will just say Christmas Day, the virus is taking the day off. Do what you want, but come Boxing Day, you need to go back to 6. It'll be fine. Don't worry about Christmas Day.
And I'm just like every year I watch like a film, like a Christmas orientated film every day in the run up to Christmas. And I'm definitely like, I think I'm gonna put Christmas Chronicles. I think I put both 1 and 2 on the list for this year. Just watch it because Kurt Russell, you know, Slink Plissken can't be that bad.
What about you, Serge?
I went first, man. What about you, Joe?
What did you think? I didn't hear your sentiment.
Oh, did I not say? No, I think, you know,
you said
watch. More or less short version, ditto.
You pay 35 quid to watch this on Netflix?
I don't pay for mine with Netflix, so I'm good.
You can't say that, Serge. That was it. In terms of the film, it's a Christmas film. It's the assortment of different Christmas films and the lead up to Christmas that you get. It's the I don't know how you can change the format to this really. If you like Kurt Russell, I think you're game. Anything else, to be honest, it's kind of copy paste. Who's the star that needs some kind of a paycheck? Maybe I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be for grandkids. They could be doing it. Kurt Russell could be doing it for his grandkids.
Yeah, I think it's that.
Yeah.
He's got grandkids, so he's probably just like, yeah, I've been in the MCU as a bad guy, so like that ship sailed. So it's like, okay, what can I do to make my grandkids be like, oh, you know, Grandpa's lovely, he's awesome. I'll be Santa Claus. They're gonna believe in that for a good while. You know, time.
Yeah, Goldie Hawn does look interesting, to say the least. I'm not sure what she's going through, but I haven't seen her on screen in a long time, and so it's kind of like what's that picture? Do you know that episode of Friends where the woman's coming out of the picture? It's a little bit like that. Seeing Goldie Hawn, it's a bit of a.
Oh, damn!
I mean,
I understood that reference.
Yeah,
I did not.
Sorry, man. For anyone,
is it Gwendolyn or something?
Yes, yeah. One's Gwendolyn.
Something like that.
There's two of them.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the episode too well, but I remember that picture and Monica's face going. So that's what seeing her on
Gladys.
screen reminded me.
Let's check this. Gladys.
Okay.
Well,
sounds like it as well.
I don't know. Like, I saw what she looked like in the trailer, and I was just like,
exactly.
Not to be horrible or ageist, but I was just like, I saw it, and I was like, damn, you getting old now.
No, she looks like Jack Nicholson with prosthetics for Joker. You know when he's painted his face like all like the normal skin color, but he has that weird grin. That's what she looks like. It's weird.
Well, you know what? All I can say.
Sorry, Goldie. Don't mean to hate.
Nah, all I can say with that is like she been with like that's when you know when like you're in a relationship, you've been in that relationship so long that you know this person is there for you, they ain't going anywhere, and you're like, I can show out now, I can try anything I want to try, I can try it now because like I know this person's there for good. Like her and Kurt Russell, they good. So she's like, you know what? Let me see what this surgery is about.
Well, when does that come out, by the way?
Christmas?
No. These films usually come out before Christmas.
I think it's
Watch it be delayed. Watch it be delayed to Christmas 2021. Or delayed till Easter or some shit. It's Netflix. It's done and dusted. It'll be out. I would imagine it's probably going to be first or second week of Christmas. I'd imagine that's probably a key time for him to release something like that.
Usually, I think it's from like
probably right at the beginning of December.
Like Thanksgiving, it's like the day of, it's like the Saturday, so it's like Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and then that Saturday.
That'll be it.
Flood,
yeah, good shout. Good shout.
Flood Disney, well, not Disney, just flood Christmas movies out.
Well, or look forward to it. It's coming soon, sooner than you think. What's the next trailer? We have The Haunting of...
25th of November, that's when it's coming out.
Okay, 25th of November.
Cool. Yeah, so...
So the next trailer is The Sound of Metal. I didn't see this trailer. I didn't get a chance to.
This was good. I like this.
Yeah, this was this is a directorial debut for Darius Marder, who wrote The Place Beyond the Pines. Yeah, Place Beyond the Pines. This is his first role as a director. Starring Riz Ahmed. You know what? Riz Ahmed, that guy can fucking act.
Yeah, man.
That guy can fucking act. And you know what? I think this is like the first film where I've actually seen him as top bill, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Whereas before, he'd always be like, you know, starring with someone or like Rogue One, an ensemble cast. But you know what I mean? What I think this is a very good film for him as an actor to showcase what he's got, because it's very much all centered on his performance. In terms of like the director, this is going to showcase his creativity in terms of the sound design as well, because the nature of the film, if you've not seen the trailer, is he's playing a guy who's really into like heavy metal kind of music, and I think he's a drummer, and he begins to lose his hearing, and it's literally about that slow decline of when you're losing your hearing and you're about to go deaf. So obviously he's into metal music. His whole life is surrounded by that culture and stuff.
Plays in a band, yeah.
Yeah, he plays in a band. So obviously he's about to lose like everything he loves, you know, by going the way he's going. And, you know, I think that's I can't say I've ever seen a film that's dealt with this subject matter in that way. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what they pull off with this. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, agreed. It's coming on Amazon Prime, and this is actually a film that I'd actually really have liked to have seen in the cinema, because from the trailer, you can get a real sense of the sound mix in it and how they are trying to bring the audience into the sound. So you'll hear sort of like I think it's called tinnitus or something. You'll hear the ringing in the ears. You'll hear how he's muffled and how the other person is. They try and get you inside his head a little bit with the sound. And I think having that is like an immersive experience. But if you got a home theater and you got a good sound set up, you know, I think that'll really play into it.
I think that's another thing to mention. I think this was definitely one of those films that did the film festival circuit. Got bought by Amazon, and I don't think the filmmaker would have went with Amazon if it wasn't for this pandemic.
Yeah, agreed.
So for the exact same reasons that you have said. So
yeah, it's supposed to be an immersive movie, you know, and put you kind of in that place. But Riz Ahmed again, I think he's great, and I think probably the favorite thing I've seen him in was The Night Of. It was a small series. It might have been a Sky original series or something, but I think you can watch that on Prime Video now as well. That was fantastic. It's got John Turturro. Is that how you spell it?
John
Turturro,
yeah. And he plays the lawyer, and Riz Ahmed, this guy is like in the wrong place at the wrong time, convicted of like a murder. And those two performances in the series, fantastic. So I'm looking forward to this. It looks like he's really been able to, you know, expand on his acting chops, you know, just really get into grips with a good role. And looking forward to it.
And he's a good local boy as well. He's from Wembley, so it's just down the road.
It's funny because when you sent the show notes and I actually saw the trailer and it said The Sound of Metal. When I typed it in, the image that came up, I actually thought it was a totally different film because Riz Ahmed's actually in a film called Mowgli.
Oh yeah.
Oh okay.
Which again, he's the main star, but he's also playing a musician. I think in that one he's playing a rapper.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of similar vein where it's like he's on the cusp of like career taking off and then he gets an illness. I don't know what the illness is because, you know, it's not like kind of brought forward in the trailer. But I saw the trailer for that and I was like, oh, okay, this is just another trailer for the same film. Mm-hmm. And watching the trailer, and I was like, nope, it's a totally different film. And it's like, he's got 2 films coming out roughly the same time, both kind of surrounding very similar subjects. But he's really showing his like acting chops, like more so than, you know, I don't want to say like he'd never shown his acting chops, because I'm like, you know, he was in like 4 Lions and was brilliant in that. Like, he's brilliant in most things he's in. But yeah, like, it's almost like this is his breakout.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he was in 4 Lions, wasn't he? That's the Chris Morris film, right? Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost like his breakout. But I mean, like, sticking strictly to the sound of metal, it's great. The trailer was brilliant, and it's an interesting concept, an interesting original film to finally be pushed forward.
It's also got Olivia Cook in it, who's also English, from Ready Player One. Yeah, I mean, look, she might do a great supporting turn in it as well. You know, I think she's got quite a few projects ahead of her. She's got that Little Fish, I think, which we spoke about previously. She's got Pixie, Naked Singularity. You know, she's got Courting Danger. So she's really developing her profile as an actress as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to see a strong British cast.
I need to watch I like the premise of this film. And from what you've said, I wish I could see it in the theatre now, because I know if you're watching this at home, some people are going to have a theatre set up, some people are going to watch it on their laptop, and so it's going to lose something in that sense.
A good example of that, I saw Le Mans 66 on, you know, at home. And I really wish I saw it in the theatre, because that film was so good.
Different beast in the cinema.
It's a bloody loud film.
I could imagine, man.
I watched that hit at my place, and I had to turn it down. I never turn films down, so that's a testament to how good the sound design is on the film.
But that film was so underrated at the Oscars this year. I swear to God, man, like fucking Bale and fucking Damon fucking killed it in that film, man.
Yeah.
Oh
Damon was
yeah.
he was on a different level in that film.
Kenny Loggins. Okay. What's up next? We've
moving on and forward. We have Borat 2. Borat is back. He's back. 100% back. They're showing the film on Amazon Prime, I believe.
Yeah.
Can someone look up what the title is? I haven't got it in front of me. But
it's a subsequent movie film.
Subsequential movie.
Movie film.
Yeah.
I know Ken's on the scene, man. He's got that.
Doing it now.
I can see it now.
It's kind of a crazy full title. Well, I think it had a full title, but then it got removed.
Oh, did it?
No, the full title was Borat, the subsequent movie film.
Yeah, but it was...
I think it had a longer title.
Yeah.
Here we go. Borat subsequent movie film. Delivery of prodigious bribe to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan.
Love it.
Damn.
Oh, God. Well, yeah, man, that trailer. I was in before the trailer. I was in when I heard that title.
Regardless, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And just it's coming right. When's it coming? Just before the election, right?
Yeah.
Just before the election.
I think a week before the election.
He has completely stealthed this movie during COVID-19. I've got to say, I commend Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah,
that's what you call a true guerrilla filmmaker. Fucking hell, like. I don't even think...
Literally, I think it was first leaked about a month ago. I think the first image or two is probably about a month ago max.
Yeah. You know what? I don't even think it was leaked. I think they deliberately leaked it, because I think he would have gotten away with it. I think he did it just to generate the buzz, because we're all talking about it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I saw a video of somebody, I think it might have been on like... TikTok or something like that, or something like that, or Instagram, where someone drove past recording him in a car being filmed, you know, like on the highway kind of thing. So whether that was planned or not, but he didn't like look at the camera or acknowledge it or anything like that. But that was the first hint I got of it. I was like, oh shit. So I think he's done well, and I think it had to be done this way because because of what Borat did and how that character came about the first time, you know, he did all that guerrilla style, and then obviously everyone realized afterwards that they'd been done in.
Yeah.
If they'd announced this movie, people would have been on the watch, this, that, and the other. He had to go this like method style in terms of, like you say, Sacha, the guerrilla style. And I think it's gonna be fantastic. I think it's got a lot to live up to for the original. It'll be interesting to see what kind of they do with that story, because even though he's going out doing all these interviews and pointing all this stuff out, he still had that kind of thing for Pamela and wanting to marry her and, you know, then kidnapping her and all that kind of stuff. It'll be interesting to see kind of maybe what that theme is. I think this one is his daughter. Was it daughter in it?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So, you know, it's going to be probably her, and I think she's going to play a little bit more of that story part of it. And that's going to be the relationship, where in the first one he had the relationship with his manager or the other representative. So it's going to be about him and his daughter, and that bit where they're in that room together and he's like, "It's my baby." I was like, oh man.
The truth of it was, when I was watching the trailer, like in my head, when the trailer started, I was like, I better see Azimad. And there was no Azimad. I was like, all right, the trailer looks good, but I'm disappointed. I want my Azimad.
You know, Imran was supposed to be that guy. He wasn't supposed to be a big fat guy originally.
Mm-hmm. That's supposed to be Imran.
Yeah, Imran's representation said, "Look, they want you for this role," and he didn't want to. No, I'm getting confused now. It wasn't for Borat. It was for the dictator. It was for the dictator, and he was like, he doesn't want to like play that kind of role. Shame.
Yeah, missed out, man. Missed out.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to Imran for standing up for your morals, bro.
Well, I love this trailer. I think the trailer's holding back.
Definitely.
Yeah, and because I remember seeing Borat in the cinema and almost puking because I was laughing.
Was it the fight?
That was one of them, and it was. It's very hard to say this, but it was the two cockroaches that came under the door, and they put. You know the scene, right?
Yeah, damn. You forget some of these things, man. Oh, damn.
Oh my god, I was puked when I can't, but he can get away with so much because he is that faith, and that I don't know what he's done this time around, but I'm sure he's pushed the envelope to some degree. Otherwise, I don't think he would have done it. He's quite a risk taker, and I like it. What was the last film? He was in the MMA ring in Bruno. And so when he was in Bruno, he was in this MMA ring, and he was like gay kissing with the other character in the film, and they were just throwing chairs, bottles into the ring, and he just, what is wrong with this guy? He's just got a death wish. Anyway, point being, even if I didn't see the trailer yet, I'm gonna watch this purely because I know there's gonna be a lot of mischief involved. He's gonna hold a mirror up to America once again. And, I fear for his life.
Yeah.
But so yeah, thumbs up from me.
Okay, next up, this has been a recent addition to the show notes, but Deadline reports that Resident Evil has been casted. The Resident Evil reboot, not the TV show that we mentioned a few weeks ago, has been casted. Now, I can't pronounce any of these guys' names. I'm just looking at really quickly. They've casted a new Resident Evil film. It's by the filmmaker that did... Fuck, what did he do? Was it Constantine?
Who
are we talking about?
No, he didn't do Constantine.
The director of the old Resident Evils?
No, this one. This current one.
Oh, okay. I didn't look that up.
I haven't. But anyway, it kind of looks.
It's Constantine Films.
Yeah, I saw that. I realised I made the mistake. I got the article in front of me, but I'm trying to skim read it, and I'm not getting anywhere. But yeah, it looks like they're by the comments, it sounds like he's trying to tonally make it like the games. Obviously, by that cast list and the characters they pick, they're kind of mishmashing 1 and 2 together, it kind of looks like.
I mean, they're all 1, 2, and 3 are set in a few hours of each other, so
yeah, that's right.
It makes sense.
So that's going to be interesting because obviously, if you've played the game, well, I guess Jill Valentine would have kicked off the stuff. Her and Chris would have kicked off the stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'd imagine at the start of the film, and then obviously whatever happens to Chris in between 1 and 3 is never really explained in the first 3 games because Jill's by herself, and as a gamer, you know that 3 takes place the exact same time as Chris and Claire are in the police station in number 2. So, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do because it sounds like they're adapting all 3 games into one film by the looks of it. Or elements of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what they said is it's conceived of the original origin story. The story's going to be set in 1998 in Raccoon City. So they're going to go for the nostalgia bit as well, I think, you know, and have that kind of timepiece. The actors, it's interesting. So you got Kea Scalderio from Maze Runner. She's going to be Claire Redfield. And you're going to have Hannah John Kamen, who was in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
She's going to be Jill Valentine. Robbie Amell is going to be Chris Redfield. Tom Hopper from the Umbrella Academy. He's going to be Albert Wesker. Avon Georgia, Zombieland, Double Tap, and Leon S. Kennedy and Neil McDonough as the
Bison.
William Birkin.
Do you remember he was Bison in the Street Fighter: The Legend of What a miscast and a half.
Donahue, he was great in like the Arrowverse.
Wait, who's he playing?
He was Damien Dark.
He's playing William Birkin.
Doctor. Or scientist.
Okay, interesting.
I thought he would have been Whisker, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. When I heard him, I got a little excited because I could kind of see him as Wesker. But William Birkin, all right. That's a bit different to how I envisioned William Birkin, but okay, I could still roll with that. Wesker's going to be the interesting one. I see Tom Hooper's playing him. I know him from Game of Thrones, from his little bit part in Game of Thrones, because he played one of the Tullys, right? He saw his dad get eaten by the dragon, right? So.
So touching on what you said, that basically what they're looking to do is, I think it's probably going to be the first 2 games, Sacha.
The first 2, okay.
Yeah. So he said with this movie, I really wanted to go back to the original first 2 games and recreate the terrifying, visceral experience I had when I first played them, whilst at the same time telling a grounded human story about a small, dying American town that feels both relatable and relevant to today's audiences. So that's Roberts, who's the filmmaker behind 47 Meters Down.
Right.
Okay.
So
interesting choice. 47 Meters Down, that had good tension in it, and I feel Resident Evil needs to be taken more seriously as an IP rather than be an action blockbuster. I think it should be like a really scary zombie flick.
Like Wreck. Like Wreck.
Yeah, exactly. Like Wreck. Yeah, exactly like Wreck. In fact, Wreck is...
That's essentially it's the factor Resident Evil now, because it did a better job than the retro Resident Evil films. So it's more Resident Evil than Resident Evil.
Well, yeah, for me as a fan, I'm just kind of like thinking...
I don't know, because I think I played one Resident Evil game. So.
Yeah, I'm just going to wait and see, because for me, if they're doing that time... Because 1 and 2, you know, it's all about when they take place, and then it's like, what are they going to cut then? Because I could see the first one being cut down quite a bit if you cut the fat. But then there's argument, how much fat do you cut? And then if you put 2, then you've got Mr. X. So are we going to have Mr. X and Nemesis in this?
Explain who Mr. X's and Nemesis are for people who don't know.
Okay, so Nemesis is like some big fuck off zombie. Okay, he's like some You know the Prometheus.
Mm-hmm.
The
engineers,
kind of like a fucked up version of them, except like a zombie version, if that makes sense.
He's an engineer with a trench coat.
No, that's Mr. X. Mr. X kind of looks like a fucked up Dolph Lundgren. In fact, fuck it. If they told me Dolph Lundgren was in this film, I'm in. Okay, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm scared. I want to be optimistic, but I'm skeptical at the same time because I feel a lot of Resident Evil fans have been nothing but let down by these adaptations. So.
And they're about to be let down again. There's a film that Anderson is doing, which is also a Capcom game, Monster Hunter. Monster
Hunter. I haven't put that trailer in yet, but I'm saving that for the next podcast.
We'll talk about that in time. There's also a TV series of Resident Evil being produced at the same time as the film. It's a Netflix TV show, so I don't know if it's going to borrow any elements or run it in conjunction with the film that's being made now.
Well, the TV show, funnily enough, I was shitting on it a few weeks ago on the podcast, but I have to rebuttal because I saw the trailer and Capcom are kind of more involved in that iteration.
That means absolutely nothing.
Well, it's CGI for starters, and they're using the character models from actual games. Yeah, it's a series as well, so you know what I mean. They're trying to do something original.
Well,
for the fans.
Castlevania was dope. So
yeah, so
Castlevania wasn't made by Konami. Konami had nothing to do with it. So Castlevania. The funny thing with Castlevania, right? Mm-hmm. The guy they got, what's his name? Warren Ellis, I think.
Yeah,
it was. He knew nothing about Castlevania. He never played a game, never did anything. He just got hired, and then he was like, well, I like vampires. And then what he did, he basically looked at speed runs off the actual game. He actually did his research on the actual games and the lore, and he saw like, oh, shit, this is more fucked up than Star Wars in its continuity and stuff. And then what he did, he literally researched it, put in his own little flavor in there, and made a decent product, basically, because you don't have to be into those video games to get Castlevania. Mm-hmm. I think Castlevania is an IP. It has a fan base now. I think Netflix should just look at that and make a live-action TV show, to be honest, because that show should be the blueprint because it's just so fucking good. It's just so fucking good. And if they could just get, like, a producer that gives a shit, you know what I mean, that cares about the material, just like the MCU, you know what I mean, we'd get better content. But, you know, this is a wait and see, I guess. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, we have to give Warren Ellis his dues because, I mean, the guy's a fucking brilliant comic book writer to begin with.
Yeah. So, that you know, he knows how to deal with fandom. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything?
Resident Evil. The cast, I was like, the cast is all right. It doesn't look. It's weird. Everyone kind of they fit the molds that they've clearly been gifted. Like obviously, like Robbie Amell, you know, he is. And I don't mean this as a disrespect because I think he's quite brilliant in most things I see him in. He is your kind of like C-list action movie star. Like he's not up there with, you know, I don't know, The Rock and Statham and them.
Yeah.
So, but he's good enough. And like playing Chris Redfield, I mean, to be honest, the person who probably have done better would have been his cousin, Stephen Amell. Mm-hmm. But he's obviously occupied with other things. But no, I mean,
I think they've gone for a lot of this cast for budget.
Yeah.
None of these would have demanded huge pay amounts, but at the same time, they're all kind of familiar faces.
Yeah, they're all faces. They're all faces that you know.
Exactly, faces you recognize. You're like, I kind of know from here, and that will bring you enough, hopefully, in to see it. So yeah, I think that's the way they've gone because the Resident Evil movies themselves made bank. They made like billions for the franchise, you know.
They were low budget as well. I mean, if you look at them, the reason why they were so successful and why they made so many is because they were made for, you know, peanuts. And you know what I mean? They just made bank every time. I mean, we're not talking about Avengers money, but they quadrupled their budgets because of how cheap they were made. So it's, you know, it's financially viable that they go down this route with the casting, because it's a horror movie. If you look at any horror movies, they never get a big star. And when they do, it's just a one guy for a couple of days, you know, because that's generally what you do with horror movies when you go make them. You don't have them on set for the whole duration of the shoot. It's like, cool, you've done your thing. Later, isn't it? Because, you know, if I got Harrison Ford on my movie, that's 25 mil I ain't going to get back. You know what I mean? Like, for dude to sit around and he's only in it for 5 minutes, that's not financially viable. But yeah, stay tuned with that one, I guess.
Yeah.
Next up,
we'll see.
Next up, we have Henry Cavill has basically publicly said he's very keen to be the next James Bond when Daniel Craig passes the baton. Now, I know, here's the thing. For Casino Royale, it came down to two candidates. It came to him and Daniel Craig. Barbara Broccoli felt he was too young at the time to play Bond. But, you know, he's age appropriate now. The only thing he has against him, really, in terms of the Bond producers, is that he is too famous to be Bond. That's literally it. But that being said, I personally think Henry Cavill would make a fantastic James Bond, especially after seeing him in films like, what's the Guy Ritchie spy film?
The Man from
Uncle. Seeing him in Man from Uncle. He's British anyway, so you know he's got the chops. But yeah, guys, thoughts?
The day any American plays a Bond plays Bond, I think the world would implode or something.
We're not far from it now, Joe.
Yeah, I know. Which is why I think that's about to happen.
You know Henry Cavill's English, right?
Yeah.
No,
I wasn't talking about.
He's just saying in general.
All right. Okay.
I reckon they'll just overlook everyone's. This American guy, he's going to be Bond. World implodes.
Yeah.
I think he would be an excellent choice, but I think what it comes down to, in my opinion, what it comes down to is that, and obviously, you know, body types and things change. To me, he's just too muscular to be like, he looks like when you look at James Bond, he's supposed to be like an athletic man, because obviously he is a spy, you know, I think he's a former Navy, Royal Navy.
I think he was in the Navy.
SAS maybe.
Yeah, SAS. Like he, you know, you're supposed to see, like, you know, he's a soldier. He knows how to handle business, but you don't look at him and see that when he's walking around in his suit. You know, that's why, like, when you see the henchmen approach him, it's like, what's he gonna do?
Except for Pierce Brosnan in Tomorrow Never Dies, because after GoldenEye, where he was really slender, he worked on a different role for a different movie where he bulked up and he got huge. And if you look at him in Tomorrow Never Dies, he's fucking henchman in that film, man. He's bigger. He's like twice the size of what he was in GoldenEye, and then he had to slim it down for the other two. But I think that's the biggest Bond has ever really been. Really,
he got that. But all I'm gonna say with that one is that, like, no matter how big Pierce Brosnan can get, I'm like, you know, when you look at, like, there's one scene that will never change. When you see Man of Steel, and you see the scene where he's just saved the people from the oil rig disaster, and he's running to get clothes, and you see the shape of him, like, from the waist up, I'm like, you ain't Bond, right? You ain't Bond, right? You're like, oh, it's like, you know, Bond, you're gonna have to get some training for this mission. Okay, who am I going to? Henry Cavill. You're going, like, he trained Bond. He looks like a absolute beast. And yep, he'll look the part in the suit and he can play the role, definitely. But I'm just like, who could look like a menace to Henry Cavill the way he looks now? Like, You know, when we like...
That's the thing, though, right? Because all Bond villains, none of them are big hench villains, right? It's not about the physicality for Bond. You know, what I get where you're coming from, but for me, I'm just like, you know, the guys who've played, you know, we've had obviously loads of different actors play. You know, Sean Connery, you know, he was a tall man. He was quite well built when he first started out. You know,
well, he was Mr. Universe. He was Mr. Universe before.
Yeah, exactly. So you know,
he was a hench bodybuilder.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So he could just slim it down. I mean, he is an actor, and if he's willing, you know, if he's willing to be Bond, he has to go with whatever the territory is, which means he's going to have to lose. He's going to have to lose the weight, man.
I think he maintains his size, you know, for the roles that he's playing. So because you know he's you know, whether it's like some pickups, you know, whether he's hoping to be Superman again, because that'll be really a big role to have to change your body type back to get into that kind of shape. You know, The Witcher, you know, he's like a big guy. But yeah, Sean Connery was, you know, a big guy. And then, you know, Roger Moore was a different type. Pierce Brosnan was a different type again. Daniel Craig, when he first was in it, I think a lot of people thought he was quite big because remember that, you know, when
that's right.
Water wearing the trunks, he looked quite tonk. He looked quite big. So I think, you know, if Cavill played it right, I think he would be superb. I think he's got a brilliant charm. I think he's got sophistication and suave about him. I think, you know, for women to love him, yes, they will, because, you know, he's not bad to look at, you know. And, you know, I want my Bond. Yeah, if he's an ex-Marine, an ex-specialist, I want him to be able to fuck people up. And I don't mind him being a big guy because I want the bad guys to be thinking, shit, should I be going down this road? Should I be taking this guy on? You know, letting them think about it. And yeah, have some brutality. Man, the man loaded his guns, man.
Oh, Mission Impossible.
Man. And it's just like, I'm sorry, man. Give me that for Bond. Absolutely. Man, cock a gun, clock his guns. It's just, that's it. I'm all in for Henry Cavill being Bond, man. I was so dig it. Yeah, he looks good in the suit. You know, and if you look at him, I haven't watched the film yet, but if you even look at him, the trainer for is it Edna Holmes, where he plays Sherlock? Yeah. You know, he's got that charismatic nature about him. You know, he can do different things, and I think he has been typecast a little bit because of his size. You know, and I think he definitely has more range for that. And I'd like to see him do a little bit more dramatic stuff and stuff like that. But I'm all for that.
It's funny because
I'd personally like to see him play like a being like a hostage film where like. He's like where you think he's the good guy, but he's actually a bad guy. But that's my personal choice for Daniel Craig. Only Neil will get that, but nudge, wink, wink. Who knows? It might actually happen. But we'll chat offline about that.
You know what?
I totally prefer him over Hardy, though.
Oh yeah, totally.
I don't like the idea of Hardy as Bond. For me, that's a no-go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, here's the thing with Tom Hardy, he could play it. He could do it in his sleep. The problem is with Tom Hardy, he's way too A-list for that role. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And
a bit too thuggish.
Yeah, and a bit too thuggish as well. But then that's never really been a problem.
Towards Bond a bit,
yeah.
I think the closest I think is when he was in Inception. In Inception, he played something quite suave.
Oh yeah, totally.
And that's the limit I can think of it.
But you know
Don't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling.
But if they announce Henry Cavill was Bond, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Mm-hmm. But saying that, he's not my first choice by a long shot, but he's definitely in my top three.
Yeah,
top three. But the only thing that I have against him is because he's too famous. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But that aside, if he was Bond, I'd be like, okay, cool. But yeah, how about you, Joe? Sorry, whoops.
John Joe.
John Joe. Jose, come on.
I like Henry Cavill. He's been in 2 spy films now, and he's more than capable of doing the role. He's quite diverse as an actor, actually. He's got a more diverse range, and he's moved not on his own accord, but moved away from Superman a little bit. He's managed to grow a bit, and he's not. I think people will be able to see him as other people as opposed to just Superman now. If he was if he kept doing Superman films from Man of Steel, I think it would be harder for him to make that transition.
Yeah.
And but now he can still play Superman if he wants, and he can still do other things. People would accept that now because he's done so many different varied things in terms of his. You can see his acting chops as well. He's grown as an actor, so I wouldn't. It would be a different Bond, but I think that's the kick that this Bond needs, especially from what Daniel Craig's done with the Bond now. Just it'll be a nice change to see someone with a bit more physicality as a bit more of a dangerous Bond in terms of his the threat he faces as just in his physicality. So it would be interesting if he is cast, and I think he would do a good job with it. To be honest, that's my 2 cents.
I just want to see a Bond film where Jude Law is the bad guy.
He's the bad guy in every film. That's just my I just have this thing about Jude Law. He just looks like a bad guy in most films. I don't know why. I just have that feeling about him.
I mean, I think what's going to be interesting is how long it's going to be between each of the Bonds.
Right,
because
that depends on shit outside of film.
Yeah, well, and because obviously when they recast Dalton, it was only like 2 years between like A View to a Kill and The Living Daylight. So, it was pretty much like right straight on to the next Bond, not taking a break.
Yeah.
But most generations now, obviously, after License to Kill, then you had like a 6-year gap between GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm. That was mainly because of rights issues. It had nothing. Yeah.
But there was a big gap there where it's like this is your brand new Bond, and it was kind of it was like a reboot, and almost like a reboot, but
soft reboot.
But then obviously you only had like 4 years between Die Another Day and Casino Royale, which is like another reboot. So they've obviously done with Casino Royale up to No Time to Die. It is more of a continuation of a storyline. They've had that running theme and returning characters and stuff like that. So that is going to be a set of films, I think, on its own. So when we have Bond again, it is going to be like another soft reboot. And it'll be interesting to see how quickly they want to do that, and how quickly people will accept that, So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. But I think that's definitely going to be it's on my agenda for a Creative Control podcast. We're going to talk about casting choices for Bond, and there's so many options. Whether we have a female Bond, whether we have a black Bond, whether we have a Chinese-Japanese Bond, there's loads of different options. It doesn't have to be the white guy, but there's a lot of purists out there, and a lot of Bond fans would be very against. I mean, they threw a hissy fit when Daniel Craig became, because he was blonde, like a dirty blonde. So to have a different ethnicity, it would be a challenge, but it would be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I got my issues with it with another race Bond.
I would have different 00s. I would have different 00s and different spin-offs for different.
Thing, right?
And just have your team of 00 agents and have different films.
I feel like I've seen. I could be wrong, but other than GoldenEye, I think there's one other Bond film where they show you other 00s.
There's quite a few Bond films where they show you different 00s. One in the early Connery ones, I can't remember which ones. I think it was Diamonds Are Forever, where they have the whole room and they actually have two females. They have like 2 female 00 agents, and they have like quite a few 00s in there. Because 00 is just a handle; it's not the person. See, the thing is that's the confusion with people. 007 could be anybody, but James Bond is James Bond. So,
his name.
So because that's his name. So that's once you know that, you've kind of got options. So but anyway, we're going off topic completely. Moving on away from James Bond, which we'll say for Creative Control. Avatar 2 is now complete. Avatar 3 is 95% and not far behind, according to James Cameron. He was celebrating last week. I don't know why, because we're probably still not going to see this film for another 5 years because of COVID. And by the time Avatar 5 comes out, it'll be 30 years since the original came out. But that being said, you know what? Despite my negative skepticisms, I don't bet against James Cameron because that guy, like, he bows down in Black Magic or something because all his films are number one of all time. So he'll probably pull something out the bag. Over to Joe, because I know you're enthusiastic about this. I can already see, like, Ken going, oh, why the fuck are we talking about Avatar again, blue people, and Neil's creasing up. But yeah, go ahead, guys.
Again, as you said, I never count James Cameron out. People have done it to him since True Lies. Then it was Titanic. Then it was Avatar.
But you forgot The Abyss, man.
No, The Abyss was way before, and that wasn't particularly a success.
Oh yeah, true.
And so once he learnt his craft, he's like, oh, I got this. And then he made money, then another bit of money, and the best film in the world, second best film of all time. He's just been consistent. It would be hard. I mean, I know these films are long apart from each other, but at the same time, Avatar, the first Avatar film made 2.6 billion. I mean, it took people tried to take that film off. It took a whole series of films it took Avengers Endgame to do that, and that's after a whole series of films. This is one film.
Yeah.
One film. Just remember that, guys. One film. And so I haven't seen a trailer to it. I don't know what it looks like. I've seen some images of it. It looks very intriguing. I think whatever tech he has in store for this, I hear that Glasses 3D is in the works for this. If there's still cinemas around, this might rejuvenate what may come from the ashes of what the cinema going experience will be. The new experience, which is James Cameron's experience, and which will be copied all over the place. I don't know if that will happen, but I never bet against James Cameron. But I still need to see a trailer. That's the only asterisk.
It's funny because I feel like, obviously, because of like everything that's going on with COVID and like cinemas closing left and right, some unfortunately not to reopen again. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's this possibility that the cinema industry could basically revert back to what it was back in, like, I'm going to go on a limb and say like the 70s and the 80s, right, where you had only a handful of major multiplex big boy cinemas, and then the rest was smaller. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to be situations where there's like lines around the block to see films again. And I feel like, as weird as it sounds to say, I feel like even though it's when is it? 2022 is the first one?
No, this next year. This is supposed to come out, Avatar. Wasn't
it pushed back again to 2022?
I don't know.
It was pushed back to 2021 when around the time Endgame was in the cinema. And then I'm pretty sure it got pushed back again to 2022 during because of COVID or whatever. But yeah, I imagine that's going to be the first massive blowout hit.
17th of December 2021 comes out.
Okay, cool.
2022, it got pushed back this week.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's December 22nd, 2022 now.
Google's lying. Don't lie to me, Google.
Yeah, 4 days ago.
Yeah, well, I said that, like, I feel like that's going to be the first massive major, like, like pulling numbers down hit. Mm-hmm. Is probably going to be that, because I mean, no disrespect to this person, but like I imagine that probably Christopher Nolan probably thought Tenet was going to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think if, COVID wasn't a thing, Tenet would have been, billion plus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But where, I think it's like, the world almost ended. And then James Cameron's like, well, I made 2 films about the world almost ending, and I gave you a savior then.
I think for me it's a case of wait. I'm going to say wait and see. I mean, like the first one, I haven't watched that in years, to be quite honest. But I feel like I want to revisit it. I want to revisit it at some point.
It's very different watching it on your screen. I've watched it both in the theater and on TV, and it's better in the theater.
Yeah, it's a different beast when you watch it at home. But I mean, I watched it January, I believe, of this year. And I know I often rip the film apart and say it's basically, Pocahontas, Fern Gully in space.
Yeah.
Right? But it's what it is it does what it needs to. It's a simple storyline of a film that's showcasing you something different. Right? And I feel like that's what Avatar 2 is going to be. It's going to be like, all right, here's a simple storyline. I ain't out here trying to do Inception. I'm out here to blow your mind. I want to blow you away visually.
Yeah.
And I imagine like James Cameron has never failed to blow people away visually. I mean, look, if it weren't for James Cameron, we wouldn't have Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Right? Because
the
way James Cameron liked to blow shit up, right? I'm sure that, Michael Bay was just like, I'm going to do that a lot.
You got to put him one of the Scots for that as well. Tony, I reckon Tony's partly responsible as well, because if you look at Tony Scott's visuals and Michael Bay's, they're almost identical.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they're both from the school of Bruckheimer.
I know.
So, but yeah.
I'll touch on Avatar briefly. I mean, I've spoken about different podcasts multiple times because we keep talking about the fact that it's getting pushed back. I think that if you actually go back and look at the box office performance of Avatar, it came with a bang, but it's not like it stayed at number one for weeks and weeks and weeks. What happened is like Sherlock Holmes came out, would knock it off. Something else would come out, knock it off, but it would always be sort of like second or third.
Yeah.
And what would happen is after the big impact of the new movie, it would revert back to the top spot. What was happening is it was a film of word of mouth. Yeah. So people were seeing it, seeing the visualization, seeing what 3D could do. 3D is what made this movie the box office that it did. If it didn't have the 3D element, it wouldn't have made the billions that it did, or 2 billion. Yeah. So it was the first movie of the new 3D generation where it was like, this is filmed for 3D. It looks different. I remember going to see it very early on as like the IMAX Waterloo. It was like one of my first experiences of IMAX, and the 3D, it just blew me away. I just remember the opening sequence where they're in the space capsule spinning around, like the room was spinning, everything was popping out, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is fantastic!" And I came out telling everybody, "You've got to see this film. The 3D is amazing." I didn't come out saying this film is great. Film was fine. Film was good, but it wasn't great. It was the 3D you had to go see. And I think what happened is it stayed in the box office for so long because people kept going out and people were saying, "Oh, Dad, Mom, you need to come see this. Oh, grandparents, come see this movie." It's really accessible to everybody because there's no history. It's not based on anything. It's kind of a new original concept, but you got to check this 3D out. And at the time, 3D was like an extra $3-4 a ticket, £3-4 a ticket. So added on to every single ticket price. Technology is caught up with Cameron. Cameron's always been a step ahead of technology. What you can get with movies now, and how easily CG and special effects and stuff can be done, is going to have to be something very special to do anything that is kind of done previously. And I know he's done some underwater stuff, but unless it's significantly better than, say, like Aquaman and stuff where people are used to seeing things underwater now, it's going to have to be really, really different. Is it going to focus on 3D? Is that going to be a thing which brings 3D back and everyone's like, "Oh, you have to go see this again"? Because since Avatar, can you think of many movies which have really pushed the 3D boundary? Not really. So is that going to be a huge factor? Anyone who saw the first movie will be like, "Yeah, I might go see the second movie." There's a whole new generation who don't even know about Avatar. And they wouldn't even know that it's like the second biggest movie of all time. They only know that because of when the records are being spoken about. Oh, it's being Avatar. And it was like, "Oh, what's this Avatar thing?" people don't know the character names. I think is the Navari, in there.
The Navi, I think, yeah.
Navi, yeah, exactly. Yeah. No one cares because they're not characters you essentially really cared about. And the actors who were in it, fine for the time, same cast. No one cares about these actors anymore.
Sigourney Weaver,
come on. Cares about Worthington. Nobody's done anything about that. Sigourney Weaver, yeah, okay, but she's older now. It doesn't have it's not going to have the same impact as the first one. And I personally think it will fail to make $1 billion. And I think it's but I think it's something that Disney are invested in and they're going to see it through. I've said this previously, my only disappointment in this is that I haven't seen other stuff Cameron could have done with the time that he spent on these movies. It's his decision, it's his prerogative. He can do whatever he wants. He's made all the money in the world. I hope it works for his sake, because to invest so much of your life in a project and it maybe not come to the fruition you thought it would be. But I'm disappointed I haven't got more out of him as a director. There's plenty of other stuff that he could have done. So yeah, I was like, you're selfish, man. I could have had more from you, man. So yeah, I would have liked a True Lies 2. He could have done another Terminator. There's plenty out there, but yeah, that's how I feel about Avatar.
Okay. Again, never been against Cameron. I'm messing with you.
I get it. I totally get it.
Mental note: don't talk about Avatar when Ken's on the podcast.
His name doesn't carry the weight it once used to either, because even his name couldn't save like Terminator and Battle Angel Alita and stuff like that from not performing at the box office.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, here's the thing with Battle Angel though. Okay, that film flopped because of timing, complete timing, lack of marketing. Disney had taken over from Fox, like literally taken over from Fox. It was in Disney's court to see that through with the marketing, but they had their own shit that they invested money in. That was Captain Marvel. You know what I mean? And they weren't going to throw Captain Marvel under the bus for Battle Angel. They kept the release date, and in Alita's defense. It performed okay. It's in that uncanny valley where Disney are like, should we make a sequel or shouldn't we? Yeah, it made the budget back, but it's not, it's not made like a boat ton of money. When you look at the marketing for Battle Angel Alita, only the final trailer was an actual good trailer. And when you look at the marketing for that movie compared to most big budget tentpole films, it didn't get the love that it deserved. You know what I mean? Most people weren't even aware of what it was, It's very much a word of mouth film. Speaking of Battle Angel, last week, not that it means anything now with all the theaters closing down, the Alita army, being the hardcore fans of Battle Angel Alita, their voices got heard by Cineplex out in the States to re-release the movie, get in contact with Disney to re-release the movie during the pandemic, since loads of classic movies are coming out. Whether that adds to Disney looking at like the figures from that, which I doubt will be any good due to the pandemic, and especially since Cineworld has like pulled, a lot of their cinemas out, it's probably not going to do anything. But there is a real thirst for Alita. I would have liked to see Cameron delve more into that world than Avatar, because he did say he wanted to do either Avatar or Battle Angel. I think if Battle Angel had come out, we probably would have got a really cool movie back in 2010, which would have spawned loads of sequels, because it's about timing. You know what I mean? Instead, we got what we got. Not that the movie was bad, but, because Robert Rodriguez, I felt, did a very good and serviceable job on it, but I think it just came out at a bad time for it as an IP under a studio that had just been sold. And yeah, but that's my 2 cents on Battle Angel and Avatar, really. But yeah.
All I really wanted to just say was that I think he, as in James Cameron, I get what you're saying, Ken, where you're like, he could have been putting his time into so much more stuff. But I think one thing I'm kind of lingering on to is that I feel like the people who will invest their time to go and see Avatar 2 will actually be the people who watched Avatar 1 in the cinema first came out and they watched it 3D glasses with, you know, no real experience of 3D before, I think those will be the people who go and watch Avatar 2 when it eventually comes out.
That's
going to be like 13 years. You know how many of those people have died?
Yeah. And plus, you've got to take into...
lost a huge chunk of his audience, whether just age-related or COVID, man. He's lost a huge amount of his audience.
And also, you've got to take into account, if you're going on that audience, that's the casual audience that like, hey, bruv, what's this Avatar? I hear 3D and shit, and real shit pops out your screen. Can I see that, bruv?
All these people from the hood,
I'll go
just
see this
that
one.
guy.
No, seriously.
All these people from the hood, or just that guy?
Just that guy. Just that guy. Just that guy. Just that guy. Just that guy.
People see 3D now, innit, man? It's ain't no new thing.
I'm seeing 3D right now.
I see 3D on my phone, bruv. Don't matter.
But that's the thing. I think he's going to use a tech where you don't need glasses, and
that's his ultimate thing. Yeah, whether it's for this next movie or the down the road, he wants to do 3D in cinema without glasses. That's always been his kind of thing. And I actually have seen a prototype of that a few years ago. Actually, I was working at View Cinemas at the time, and somebody came into our head office and they popped out this mobile phone, and it was a little bit like the old 3DS.
Oh, right. Okay.
And they popped it out and it had like this dual screen thing, and they played this footage, and it was fucking 3D popping up on the phone, man.
Yeah.
I was just like, you fucking time traveler. I was like, holy shit. And it was incredible. And I'm just like, how is this not more of a thing now? It's like, how is... So it...
I shouldn't
government,
say that,
man. What can I say? Government.
I shouldn't say this, but I was working on the Olympics this year, and they've got these devices that were going to be outside the stadiums or something. I'm not sure what they're going to do with them, but they brought it in for us to have a look at it, and I shouldn't say that, but yeah, fuck it. Yeah, it's equivalent to what C-3PO, no, not C-3PO, R2-D2 shot out of
Leia.
Yeah, of Leia. It you can look around it. It's you just like, what voodoo is this? How is this happening?
Like Chris Hemsworth showing Silent Bob reboot. Just had this like thing. I mean, it's coming around the corner, and then eventually it'll be freaking whole movies like that. If
one thing I know about Cameron, if he's found a way to bamboozle everyone visually, I think that'll be the unique selling point of the film.
Yeah.
So hey, you've got to see this film here because of this, and
that trailer is going to be so key.
Yeah.
Key.
Absolutely. So we'll more to see.
And the trouble is, he doesn't have any other 3D movies that he can put a decent trailer on at the cinema at the right time.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to sell that technology and sell the movie on TV screens, because cinema ain't about for trailers.
Yeah. So true. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so Steven Soderbergh, no sudden move cast announced. Okay, so he's developing another film as always. Surprised it's not an Ocean's film. I've not heard
this is for HBO Max.
It's doing what? Oh, I see what HBO have done. They've just gathered all of these directors. You've got to make something for the streaming service, because they got Ridley Scott for Raised Among Wolves.
Yeah,
and I guess they've got him for something now. I still have to watch Raised Among Wolves. And so again, Soderbergh, interesting character. He's one of my favorite directors purely because he knows how to play the system. Ever since he started making films, he's done this thing. Okay, here's the way I work. I'll make one for you, I make one for me. One for you, one for me in the studio. And so I know Satch doesn't like the Ocean's films, but at the moment I saw the second one, I see what he's doing.
He didn't give a fuck. He basically...
Hold on, let me finish talking. Fuck you. He made... I like the second and third Ocean's film purely because I knew what he was doing. It's the second film is a joke of a joke. And the third one is a joke of a joke of a joke. It's all a joke. It's not meant to be taken serious. The first one is semi-serious. The second one is a joke. Third one is a joke. It's a spoof. He's spoofing his own film, and I think it's hilarious. And just due to the fact that these films were consistent in their profits, they made the films for nothing. They made a profit. Boom. You've got a director that understands what he needs to do for the studios, and he can make one for himself. And
yeah, absolutely. You know, I totally agree. He's got such a varied library. You know, it's like you say, the Ocean's film. Then he's got Contagion, Logan Lucky, Out of Sight, which is fantastic. Magic Mike, something totally different. Aaron Brockovich, Traffic.
The Limey. If no one's seen The Limey, it's dangerous and hilarious at the same time. If you want to see original Zod go nuts on people, watch The Limey. You're in for a treat. Go for it, Ken. Sorry.
No. I was saying, go on. The Limey, did you say? Yeah.
So I interrupted you when you were saying something.
No, that's cool. So yeah, I mean, he's just, and you know, this car, you know, HBO Max are going out with, you know, they're competing with Netflix and Disney and all that kind of stuff, and they're going for big time directors and trying to get a huge cast. And the cast he's put together for this is fantastic. So a little bit about the story. So it's written by Ed Solomon, and the film's set in 1955 Detroit. And it's basically about a group of small-time criminals who are hired to steal what they think is a simple document, but then the plan goes all horribly wrong, and they're trying to find out who hired them and why. So it's kind of that kind of tone in terms of the gangsters, and in terms of probably twists and backhanders and you know, double bluffs and all this kind of stuff. But it's got Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, David Harbour, Amy Seismers, John Hamm, Ray Liotta, Kieran Culkin, Brendan Fraser, Noah Jupe, Bill Duke, Frankie Shaw, and Julia Fox. So fantastic cast, which he can get because of his pedigree and his name.
Sach?
Yeah, it's going to be great, man.
Neil?
You guys more or less said everything. I can't really chime in, man. But yeah, he's obviously a guy that knows how to play the system. I rate the guy because he made like his past couple of movies on his iPhone. You know, the thing is, he's quit Hollywood more times than like I've quit Hot Dinners, and like that's mainly because
you've never quit Hot Dinner.
You'd be surprised, Ken. The past
you quit alcohol once a year, but that's it.
I'm on a diet actually right now. I've been dieting for the past 2 weeks, man. I have one meal a day. It's working. But anyway, that's the true story. I'm not bullshitting. But anyway, it's so fucking hard. But anyway, he likes to have creative control, as your background says. So yeah. But yeah, good on him. I think this looks like it's in my wheelhouse because it's like crime kind of thriller kind of thing, which is what he does best. Hopefully it's more
1955 is kind of such a cool era to do that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And like, hopefully it's more like Logan Lucky and Ocean's 11 and not like Ocean's 12 and 13. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Well, you know, it's set in 1955.
Yeah.
I want to see it black and white.
He's done black and white with The Good German, which is another film that not many people know about, but it's really good.
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
1955 gangster movie, black and white. Yeah, see, I'll be for that.
I'd love to see one of those films again with those 50s gangsters. The way they raise their gun like that, it's always from the. You can't see my accent, but the way they handled guns back then were interesting.
Didn't they do something not that long ago? Was it Gangster Squad or something?
Yeah, Gangster Squad. Yeah, that was more a blockbuster version of like a gangster movie. It wasn't.
Yeah, I never saw that.
Yeah, it's bad. Don't ever watch it.
Okay. I was entertained.
No, it's bad.
I was entertained.
Hey, you hate Oceans 12 and 13. These films are actually bad.
Because that had a big cast. That's right. Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, Josh Brolin, Sean Penn. Yeah.
It would have been a better film if they were able to release it with the original ending.
What was the original? Oh, true, but not.
The original. All right. So for those who don't know, the original ending.
Let's save that for another podcast, Neil. Let's save it for another podcast. All right, from one set of gangsters to another set of gangsters, Sega are back in the movie biz after the success of Sonic the Hedgehog, and they want to adapt the Yukuza series. Looks like it's been picked up, and they want to go on with their Yukuza IP.
Is Yukuza a gangster?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know where the link was. I thought you were saying Sega were gangster. So I was like,
no, the Yakuza is kind of like the Japanese mafia.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's what the term Yakuza means. They're they've been around since the samurai times, right, Joe?
Yeah. I mean, there was samurai that didn't want to conform to any of the new rules of Japan, so they're a sect of Yakuza.
They're Ronin, basically.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
So did you guys? Okay, I know a lot of you. I know Ken doesn't play games that often. Did you check the material I sent you?
Nope.
Okay, fair enough. I'm the only one getting jacked up. So I worked on the actual first 3 games of the Yukuza franchise when I used to work at Sega. It's a good series of games. The first game is very much a movie plot, basically. You could adapt. I could see that being adapted into a film very, very easily. It's set in 2004 Japan. Basically, the main character is the right hand to one of the main mob bosses of the Yukuza, basically. And he basically goes to jail because he stops another mob. Well, basically, his best friend stops another mob boss from raping his girlfriend. When he arrives, obviously he was too late. The mob boss, his friend kills the mob boss, and he takes the rap for his friend because his friend's got other issues and stuff, like a sick dad, and all. His family depends on him, etc. So he takes the rap. He goes out. He does time for 10 years because he's the right hand man of one of the top guys. They kind of look after him. They're like, look, don't touch. He tells them not to fuck him up in jail, etc. He served his 10 years and he's out of the Yakuza for good. When he comes out, he's framed for a crime he didn't commit, where 10 million yen has gone missing, and it's pinned on him. So he's basically got to try and figure out who stole the money, what actually went down, and clear his name, yet at the same time become a head boss of the Yakuza, of a Yakuza sect, and get his old life back. So it's, this movie, if it was to be a movie, I could imagine it being a very cool The Raid style martial arts movie. Whether Hollywood would do that, I don't know, because I don't know whether it's a Netflix thing or you know what I mean? If it was a Netflix thing, hopefully we could get something like The Outcast, which Jared Leto did last year, which was a really good movie, I felt, which is another movie about the Yakuza. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Or if it was, if it was like under, Hong Kong dime, that could easily be adapted as like a Donnie Yen film, like Tomorrow. And but I don't know, thoughts?
I think, as I said to you before we started the podcast, I think if the I can't pronounce his name, Chad Stahelski gets his hands on it, I think it will be a decent film, because Yakuzas use what martial art is it? Jiu-jitsu, and that's the same type of martial art John Wick uses, and it will look quite unique if it's filmed in the right way, and it could turn into a series like the game series is. And if that is the case, if that's what happens to it, then I think there will be an interesting thing to watch. You need to educate people on what this series is first, though. I guess that's a big job for the first film to do if it does turn into a first film.
One of the key things about this could have a very interesting marketing campaign, because one of the side characters is very much he's a cult favorite kind of thing amongst video gamers that are into this series. When I say that, he's basically Oriental Deadpool. Basically, you could market it just on that character alone. You're doing the same kind of flavor Deadpool did back when they were doing the Deadpool movie.
Is that the main character?
No, he's not the main character. He's actually actually one of the side guys.
So I guess one of the things is when Deadpool came out, he's just Deadpool, and that's what you're getting with this. There's a very amount of characters in this, and so I think you need to maybe ground it a little bit before and educate the general public, because that's who you need to get essentially to watch this. And if you don't do that, then it's going to disappear. If it is a Netflix film, it's going to disappear into the ether, and you need some kind of you need some kind of relation to what this is and why you should watch it. And I don't think a lot of Netflix films do that. I don't trust Netflix when it comes to making films, because they make them and they disappear. With their TV shows, they're really good at ramping up the marketing for a show, and the shows stay with you more than the films do. The films come and go, and that's Netflix's biggest problem. And I'm not the only one that says that. Campia says that. All other pundits say that as well. And anyway,
Wouldn't you think that maybe just because of the nature of a film versus a TV show? I mean, obviously, yes, people still binge watch Netflix TV shows. Oh, it's 10 episodes and they knock it out in a day or whatever. But it's still, it's with a TV show, you have the opportunity to leave and come back at your leisure. Whereas a film, it's like, this film is 2 hours long. So you'll sacrifice those 2 hours to watch it. Whereas, a TV show, it's like, okay, I'll watch the first one. Ooh, that was great. I'll watch the second one. Ooh, that was great. I'll watch the third one. Okay. 3 hours have passed now. I've got to go to sleep. I got work in the morning, or whatever, whatever your justification is, and you step away from it, you know that you can step back to it in a day, in a week, or whatever it is, and get that instant high again.
Yeah.
Versus a film, you have to stay there.
Yeah. I see what you mean, but I think that's going to become a problem. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into
we digress.
Advertising, but Ken, and just in terms of the premise of what I mean, you've got gangsters, you've got Japanese gangsters, for instance, and you've got an intriguing subplot in terms of being framed. Do you think that you could turn that into a viable film series with the right director?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's obviously Yakuza, in terms of Yakuza movies, are probably a lot bigger in China, Japan, and stuff like that. And they've probably seen multiple variations of these type of movies over the years. And I suppose it depends on whether they want to go with how traditional cast they use, and whether they subtitle or whether it's kind of Americanized, if you know what I mean. I think that'll play a big part into how successful it is. I think that I would like to personally, obviously, I would like to see something that was a little bit more original and grounded. So I wouldn't mind the subtitles and stuff like that, but that's not going to play to an American audience, which at the end of the day, everything is made for. So I think that they'd have to be careful not to stereotype. And I think that'd be a little bit of a danger to it. But in terms of that kind of premise in that world, yeah, absolutely. I think if you take something like The Departed, where that was that Chinese movie first or Japanese? Korean movie, and then they Americanized it. Fine, you can do that. And I think if you do something similar, but you're going to have it all Asian actors and stuff like that. Otherwise you're not really going to cause it Yakuza. It's not going to be based off the video game. So, but yeah, it's definitely premise in it. I think a series would probably work better than a movie. I think a movie will just slip through the cracks, and unless they did it Taken style, where you kind of have or John Wick style even. Very simple premise about guy going on a revenge because he's been framed by the Yukuza or something like that, or they've killed his family or whatever it is. That would be the only other way to do it in terms of movie world. But otherwise, I think it'll work as a TV show.
Yes, start with a simple premise and then expand the world like John Wick did. Because John Wick was a revenge film, and then second film was, hey, this world's a bit bigger. There's all these little elements that made the world bigger, and then the third one it's a blockbuster essentially. And so if they could do that to Yukuza, Sach, that would be, I think that would be good, and they would have to keep it in the lexicon of people's minds. So like maybe do a TV series after that, or something in between them making the films. What do you think, Sach? You've played them.
Well, a series could work. It could work really well. The Variety article is saying it is definitely a movie, and they're looking for a potential movie franchise. For me, I can't speak for the later games, but I feel 0, 1, and 2 would make great films rather than a TV show. But I mean, they could work better as a TV show, I feel. But concentrating on what the product actually is, it is a movie. It's been done by Eric Barmack, who's the producer of the TV show Dark for Netflix.
Right, that's a German show, I think. Right, it's German.
I'm not too sure. I've not seen it.
Right, I think it's
there
German.
are 2 other producers as well. And it's with a production company. Basically, these guys seem to be fans of the actual source material as well. And no studio or Netflix are attached currently. They're looking for a director, and they're currently it's in early developments because they've just bought the license of Sega to write a script. So
anything that's going to be made now is going to have to be low budget. The studios don't have the financial backing. They're not going to be going for big risks. So this would have to be a streaming service, most likely, because just at the moment, unless I think studios are going to be very wary of new franchises, and especially based on characters. We know that Asian movies can do, but if you look at like Crazy Rich Asians and stuff like that, we know that those types of movies can make bank, but they're very few and far between. And be conscious of them going for a series of films with a non-American or non-white lead. I see that definitely more on a streaming service platform where they're more likely to take those risks.
Again, though, it depends how much they're willing to spend, really. I mean, like, if it's a movie that's done on a low budget, because this is when I think
do those games make money. I mean,
they do make money.
I don't think I've necessarily heard of the game other than you mentioning it. Are they games that are known well enough that people are going to be like, they see a trailer, oh, I know that from the game? Is it that big outside of China and Japan?
Not necessarily like worldwide, I don't think. I think it does have a huge following in the East, most definitely. And, the game's on its coming up on its 8th installment anyway. So it's a franchise for Sega that consistently makes bank for them, which probably brings in the interest with these guys, why that maybe they're fans of the game. But at the same time, the premise of the first film, you could do that as a low budget action movie on the budget of what John Wick 1 was easily.
So
it's not something that requires like a Michael Bay budget, a $200 million budget. You know what I mean?
I mean, those budgets are going away, man.
Exactly.
Those aren't going to happen again.
A counter to that argument is it's probably the right time and the right kind of movie to come out for around now, because if you could do something like Daredevil for Netflix, and that was real low budget, we're talking that kind of tone,
that's kind of gang related.
And we're talking about that kind of action. And there's a reason why John Wick worked. John Wick worked because they are low budget action films, and Yukuza would fit perfectly within that range. So we're not talking about Avengers and blue screen and filming in London and stuff like that. Where they're talking about filming it in Japan and you know what I mean, in very secluded kind of areas, like an office place, or like, you know, outside in the park. You know what I mean? It's not like giant set pieces where they've got to build props and that kind of thing. They just need the stunt team.
John Wick's budget was 20 million, so I think if they could do it at that price, I think anyone would jump to the chance to do that. Yeah.
I think I do like hearing everything that all of you guys are saying. I do have one or two kind of issues with the idea of it. Like, firstly, like for Sega, this is a big leap to go from Sonic the Hedgehog, which has universal appeal, to like Japanese gangsters. Second issue I have is that for everything that we're saying, I think we are like, so from the reports, they're trying to build it as a franchise. And I think the thing to kind of remember or take heed of or take mindful notice of is that essentially there are no good guys in this film. It's anti-heroes at best.
They are. Yeah, it's definitely an anti-hero.
They're criminals at the end of the day. And it's very difficult to build a franchise out of that. I think, and that's even before we're looking at, you know, what COVID has done to the film industry and all of that. I mean, like, you know, it's difficult because, you know, you're dealing with, these are gangsters, regardless of whichever way the film plays out. Your anti-hero is a bad guy to begin with. It doesn't matter if he's got morals. It doesn't matter if he's got a good moral compass. You know, Michael Corleone had a good moral compass. He is still a bad guy, right? He still became a bad guy. And I think in this kind of climate of world where the general consensus is you want to see good guys being good, I just imagine that it's like getting beyond two Yakuza films, it'll be a stretch. And thirdly, I think really and truly, even though it's very different, like from everything you described, Sash, it's a very, very different kettle of fish. I just think that the Raid 2 kind of said everything that Yakuza could possibly say.
Very different film, though. Like,
no, that's what I said. That's what I said.
Totally.
I said it's very different kettle of fish, but it's it's okay. It's the Asian criminal underworld, right? With your fast-paced action that could get very extreme. I feel like there ain't going to be much that Yukuza now, and obviously I say this as someone who has not played any of the games. I've only seen the video clips that you have sent me.
Yeah,
I do see it as it's like every film that gets made gets compared to another film, and Yukuza would immediately get. I feel like the nature of it would be compared to the Raid 2, and that's a hard bar to reach.
Yeah.
If you get that's why I said if you get the right director, I think you could do something unique. But I know the nature of lots of cooks involved. I mean, John Wick was left alone to simmer and become what it is now.
Yeah, but that's because they thought it was going to fail.
yeah, this is what I mean. And so if you make the budget low enough so they don't care about it, or just, you do your thing over there. If it makes money, it makes money. If it doesn't, if it does, then we'll start to support this thing. And I think Chad Stahelski and I always forget the other guy. Those two directors that were involved in John Wick, they did something unique. They understood how to play the studio, for example, and just ask for a little bit more money in the next one because this one made over budget and it made its budget back and plus profit, and so we could get a bit more for the next one. So if you look at all the John Wick films sequentially, their budget's been going up bit by bit, but the profit of what they make has gone up and up as well. So if they could emulate that with this the general public don't know this franchise, and if it's good, that's word of mouth that it's good, and so build up.
And the beauty about the games is they contain stories as well. Even though it has the same protagonist, it's not like it's a continuing story arc where people are like, oh shit, well, I'm waiting for the next one. And do you know what I mean? Like, the first game is a very contained story. By the time you come up towards the end of it, they didn't need to make a second one, but they did. You know what I mean? And each game has kind of been like that, which would be, I think, would be really wise of them if they kept that in the film as well. Because if it's a hit, then cool, we've got more to adapt. If not, then
again, open-ended, just like John Wick was. If you watch the first John Wick film, you can watch that film and never watch any more of them. But when you watch the second one, there's a continuation there. He walks off with his dog, and that's that. And so you don't have to watch anymore. But I think that's the way they need to structure these films. If it does get off the ground.
Yeah.
Everyone done with that?
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Okay. This is something I didn't want to talk about for weeks, but I'm ready to vent. Daisy Ridley finally confirms the Star Wars rumors that the shit weren't planned. Yeah. Good old Star Wars.
Really surprised.
I'm not. I'm not. I mean, Rian Johnson did his best to circumvent the audience's expectations of what the sequel would to The Force Awakens would bring. I don't know if, that's successful or unsuccessful between who you talk to, but
No. He was successful. He definitely circumvented their expectations. It's whether people liked what he did, right?
Exactly. I was trying to be geopolitical in that way. I was trying to.
No, we're too far into it now, Joe.
Well, I think. If someone came to you and said, "Do you want to be in a Star Wars film?" It's hard to say no to that. Filming it's a different thing, but being in it, it's and for an actress that's just come out of acting school and gets a Star Wars film, or I think she did one film and then got this Star Wars film, and how do you say no to that? It's one of the biggest franchises in the world.
Well, that's the thing, you can't, because I'm sorry, but if you are not an established actor, hell, this could be any craft, any field you could pick. Could be sports, could be music, could be whatever it is, right? If you are not established in your own right, in your own personal field, and representatives of arguably the biggest studio in the world come to you with arguably one of the biggest international properties in the world, or intellectual properties in the world, and says to you, do you want to be in it as one of the main leads in this, in the next installments of this franchise? You in or you out? Anybody who will look me in my face and say, yeah, I'd say no, you're a liar. You are a liar, and I don't need to be around you, liar, right? That is, you ain't saying no to that, right? It just being honest, you're not saying no to that. Maybe if you're like, you know what, I don't really want to be like a film actor, I just want to do theatre work and be on stage and honour thy craft and all of that. If that's what you feel, then okay, maybe you might say no. But if you're like, no, I want to be in films, you ain't saying no.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of her, I know she seemed to get described, but at the same time she's in the biggest franchise in the world, and so I think she may have a bittersweet sentiment to it, because it didn't go the way I don't think anyone really expected.
Yeah.
And so That must be such a weird feeling to have, being asked to do this and it having not going the way you want it, and it leaving this weird taste in your mouth that is, I'm glad I was a part of it, but ultimately...
Well, I mean, when you kind of look at it, I mean, of everyone who's like a mainstay player in the sequel franchise of Star Wars, right? So that's Adam Driver, Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaacs, John Boyega. I mean, I'm not going to count, you know, your Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, you know, rest their soul, Carrie Fisher, and I'm not going to count those. Just of the new faces that came in. Of the new faces that came in, the only people who have things to really vent and really talk about are the people who were not known names before the film came out. Oscar Isaacs, Adam Driver, everybody, essentially, if you really love film, you knew who they were prior to that film coming out. I'm not saying super household names, but you knew who they were. They were actors and you were like, oh, Oscar Isaacs is in it. Oh, okay, yeah. That guy, he's in this, he's in that. Adam Driver, yeah, I've seen him in this film or that film. John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, essentially plucked from obscurity, and they're the two people who have the most to say about being unimpressed with the making of those films.
Actually, Oscar Isaac had, well, he hasn't been as vocal, but he's been very dismissive about ever returning back as Poe Dameron again due to his experience on the last two films. I think everyone of the cast kind of gave off that kind of vibe, you know, during the Rise of Skywalker press junket and therefore afterwards. It's just, I think only Daisy Ridley and John Boyega are being highlighted by the media because, well, they were the stars of the film. You know what I mean? They were the face of the franchises. And that's why, you know, no one cares really about Oscar Isaac, because Oscar Isaac's probably got about 20 other films he's promoting. Yeah. You know what I mean? Same with Dominic Gleeson. He's in everything. So, do you know what I mean? Like Daisy Ridley, she's in a few things here and there. John Boyega, he's in a lot of things as well, but they were the face. You know what I mean? They were both the faces of the franchise. I totally understand John Boyega's point of view with his comments, because Finn was tossed to the side in 8 and 9 completely because they didn't know what to do with this character, which is really dumb because they introduced an interesting character that you would think would have longevity and an arc and potential. They basically, when you look at Star Wars and you think of like the beginnings of Star Wars, it's based on Joseph Campbell's the hero's journey. And within that, he's basically, when you look at The Force Awakens, he's basically the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz. You know, he's a coward that finds his courage, and he never really found his courage. He was just always a scarecrow. You know what I mean? It worked well in The Force Awakens, but when it comes to 8 and 9, there was no arc. There was no, you know, you never got to the bit where Finn had his moment. Finn was just always, Ray! And it's just like, and it's because they just passed the baton. No one had a clear fall through going, hey, here's Avengers 1, here's Iron Man 3, here's fucking Infinity War. You know what I mean? There was no fall through. There was no plan. You know what I mean? And, you know, you can bash the prequels as much as you like, but here's the thing. All the prequel defenders say, George had a plan, because you know what? You watch Revenge of the Sith, ask anyone that's a hardcore Star Wars fan, like that grew up with those films, their favorite Star Wars films is Revenge of the Sith. You know what I mean? I'm seeing that a lot now. And you know what? Rewatching that film now, I have done recently, I like it a lot more than I originally did. Hey, it's got its problems, but
there's a man literally burnt alive in it, so it's a highlight.
Totally. But it delivered on what it promised, you know, and it had a full plan that, you know, we're going to show the beginnings of Darth Vader. There was a plan for 1, 2, and 3, and like there was a plan for 4, 5, and 6, you know, and these films, there's no fall through, there's no consistency, there's no, there's just, it just feels manufactured, especially, you know, as much as I like Force Awakens, because I did enjoy that. Out of all the new ones, that's the one I enjoyed the most. It was manufactured. You know what I mean? It was just a New Hope in sheep's clothing. There was no original set pieces. It was just like, what should we do that was in a New Hope, but let's try and make it like 2019. You know what I mean? Like 2015. And, you know, Star Wars has always been about brand new worlds, brand new worlds, brand new environments, brand new vehicles, brand new kind of set pieces that we've never seen before, and let's push the boundaries of visual effects in ways that cinema hasn't even conceived yet. And these films played it safe. They played it safe, and even though Rian Johnson says he liked to subvert expectations, that was the film where you needed to fucking deliver on expectations, you know? Because if you didn't have Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, like in the last films, everyone's expecting Mark Hamill to kick some ass and show us some Jedi moves. I mean, hell, one of the biggest prick teases about this movie trilogy was the fact that they hired the guys from the Raid, okay? And what happened when they hired the guys from the Raid? Everyone was expecting lightsaber battles to be like the best since the Phantom Menace. Because, hey, as bad as the Phantom Menace is as a movie, you know what? No one can say that lightsaber battle was not a highlight. That was fucking fantastic. You know what I mean? I can watch that to this day. It's on YouTube like over and over. It's so well done. Hell, those lightsaber battles, shit, all of them. Like there wasn't one lightsaber battle in the whole of that trilogy that was worthy of the name Star Wars. Like fair enough, people would be like, oh, but the original trilogy lightsaber battles aren't that good. You know what? It was 1977. We never seen a lightsaber, so shut up. And second of all, you know what? Empire Strikes Back and Return of Jedi. That's all. You know what? That those two fights and battles I drove over, they're characters. Okay, good written characters, because we didn't know that was his father. And then when it came to the third film, you don't know what's going on in that throne room, because it's like, oh shit, what's Luke gonna do now? He can't beat him down. He can't. You know what I mean? That's his father. What's Vader going to do? Oh, Vader's so evil. He's not going to save his son. Do you know what I mean? Like so many like reaction videos that I've watched recently shows me that fucking lightsaber battle in Emperor's Throne, all kids' gloves are off. But then the minute you come to episode 9, you're just saying the same shit I've seen before. Like in that last movie, you're copying the same beats, just not as good. It's not even as powerful, because like, you know what I mean? That's just, oh man, it's so fucking terrible. It's for shit.
So you liked them then? You liked all of the movies? Okay, that's good.
No, you know what? I tolerate Force Awakens because I generally had a good time with that. Despite its flaws, I felt it had enough of a, you know, it set up enough of a lore within itself for me to go, ooh, what is a Knight of Ren? Hell, what is a Ren? Because these guys are clearly a sect of the Sith, but they're not proper Sith Lords, because if you look at the original ones, they destroyed the Sith. So who are the Knights of Ren? What are they about? Who is Snoke? You know what I mean? And then they do nothing with any of these, you know, with any of these new seeds of information to go and create something new. They just decide to concentrate on, oh, Sith and the Jedi. It's like, why are they a Sith? You destroyed the Sith. It makes no sense. And then they bring back fucking Palpatine, and he was shoehorned in from the go. The minute he comes in, it was shoehorned in. It was not planned. If you're going to bring him back, surely you want to see that, not show it in a fucking opening crawl, you know? That was an insult to that was the biggest slap to the face. I wanted to cry. Ken and Neil were with me, man. I was hating on that film throughout. I almost walked out when I thought Chewie was dead. And literally, well,
I tell you what that reminds me of. Yeah, have you seen the clip on Sky Sports when they announced that Brendan Rodgers has been sacked as Liverpool manager, and Thierry Henry turns and grabs the leg of Jamie Carragher? That is like Sacha in that movie, but that didn't just fucking happen. And inside of me, apart from me, I was thinking it could have been, but it's like, it's cheap, but at this point, it could be that, you know? And when he popped back on screen, Sacha was like, thank fuck. You know, it's just like, he was relieved that he could hate the movie less. Do you know what I mean? It was a huge amount of relief to him to be able to like,
oh man,
okay, this one we can move aside. Let's just focus on the rest of the shit, you know? So
you know what it was? It was the fact of watching the film, and this is like, obviously we're, myself and Ken are explaining this vocally to you who have not been there, not seen this situation unfold. But just imagine someone sitting relaxed in their chair, seeing something, and then like, you know, when you say edge of your seat, like this ain't edge of your seat. Oh my gosh, I want to be in the screen. This is edge of your seat. Like, one more thing I see that pisses me off, I'm out the door. Yeah. And then he didn't hit his back did not retouch the back of his chair until Chewie was back on screen.
Yeah.
It was like, show me something else. I dare you. I double dare you. Show me something else. And then it was like, oh, Chewie's alive. And it was like, yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. I think Sacha said everything for all of us. I think we've spoken about many times, and we got some episodes coming up on Creative Control, actually, where Sacha, Neil, and I say what we would have done with episodes 8 and 9. We kind of went off the basis that 7 was a decent starting point. And, you know, personally, I really enjoyed it. I know that it got some hate out there and stuff, but I thought episode 7 was great. I saw it 2 or 3 times in the cinema. And it's one that if it's on, I'll carry on watching it.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
I won't necessarily turn it off. I'll kind of just have it on. It wasn't thought through. There was no consensus of what they wanted to do with the story, of where they wanted to take it. It was get different directors who could do something different with each episode, which I totally get, but you have to have a story. You have to have a basic story. And it didn't have, they could have given a lot of license in terms of how they got to each point, but they didn't have the points marked out. And that was the biggest thing. For an actress not to know her origin story by the 3rd movie is ridiculous.
Not even that, during the 3rd movie, because they hadn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Even while they're filming,
even when they're filming, they didn't know whether she was a Palpatine yet. I mean, and
it's just mental, and it just shows the lack of direction that Disney had regarding this. And I'm not saying they need to have one director for all 3. I don't think that is the case, but it should have been written by the same person, all 3. With maybe a slightly adapted screenplay or whatever it is, but based on the story and yeah, it's a huge missed opportunity. Look, it's made loads of money. Don't get me wrong. Disney aren't there thinking, oh shit, you know, we really fucked that one up. It made a shit ton of money. But it's left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. And what they run the risk of now is a load of Star Wars fans not returning back to their other content because of how they feel about this. But they're saving grace in the meantime before anything new comes out is Mandalorian, because that's just universally liked. So as long as they don't mess that up in the next 2 seasons, they can come with something fresh for Star Wars, and people will be a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah, I mean, back in the early days of this podcast, before episode 7 came out, when we were talking about directors and stuff, who my top choice for a director for episode 7 would be, I turned around to Joe, I said, look, you need to check out Iron Man 1 and see the press tour for Iron Man 1 and see how Jon Favreau talks about Star Wars, okay? Star Wars specifically, because when he was making Iron Man 1, his specific basis of films was the Star Wars trilogy for that. How does that relate? He wanted the Mandarin to be like the Emperor. You know what I mean? He wanted it to be a trilogy where, you know, you build yourself up to the Mandarin. And he kept referencing Star Wars, even in the terms of the aesthetic, being they wanted like the suit to be practical, have the, you know, the right amount of practical versus digital and stuff. And, you know, he kept referencing original Star Wars. And then the more interviews I saw with Jon Favreau, I kind of clocked it there that he was a huge Star Wars fan. And I mean like a original trilogy Star Wars fan. They even asked him what his favorite video game of all time was, and that was Ocarina of Time. And Zelda, for those that don't know, because there are people that don't know about Ocarina of Time. And like, you know, he gets it. He's a geek. He's totally into Star Wars and, you know, that kind of lore. And when he did The Mandalorian, boy, did it fucking deliver. And not only did it deliver, he got the right hand man to co-run that ship in Dave Filoni, who's been with Lucasfilm since the Clone Wars and more or less learned everything off of George, you know, who, if you watch Star Wars Rebels, he's the biggest Star Wars fan on the planet. And, you know, The Mandalorian's just been a fucking roaring success. And you know what? Like Ken said, if The Mandalorian wasn't showing around the same time as fucking Rise of Skywalker, why is it called Rise of Skywalker in it? I didn't see no Rise of the Skywalker there. Luke didn't come back. It's just
Himalaya came back as Force Ghost, but in color.
Yeah.
I still don't understand. Why were they not blue Force Ghosts?
Maybe Kylo Rose, you know, off screen if you catch my drift.
I just saw.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, rant over. I was supposed to say this like 3-4
We could have had a James Cameron Star Wars.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And you know what? That would have been good. That would have been good, but you never know. He might be one of the special guest directors for Mandalorian, as far as we know.
Maybe.
Probably not. I don't know anything. I'm just saying. He could have been. But yeah.
Okay, what's next, Seth?
All right, moving along. Okay, I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Aldous Hodge to be cast as Hawkman in... No, it's not Black Panther. Hawkman's DC. Is it Black Adam?
Black Adam.
Yeah.
In Black Adam. Okay. Okay. Interesting choice. Obviously not who I thought would play Hawkman, but he's a very good actor.
Yeah, he is. He was a very good actor. Invisible Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hawkman's a pretty cool character in DC lore and stuff. I do dig him. I like him in animated stuff. I haven't really read him in comics that much. He's always been someone that's popped into Superman where I've seen him about, but I've not really read his individual comic. I know he's mainly the Justice Society rather than the Justice League, which was before, right? So he's like a old school member. You had him and Hawk Girl, isn't it? Like his spouse. Isn't he a king or something?
Yeah, he's been around a long time. He's kind of dipped in and out in terms of the Justice League. He's been around since like the 1940s in the comics.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, so he's always kind of had a presence there. But in terms of popularity and like the focus, obviously you had Hawk Girl in the DC Justice League. In terms of they kind of pushed that character more to the forefront. But yeah, I think that visually he's somebody you're aware of, you know, with that golden armor and the headpiece and stuff like that. I think it's good casting. I think it's nice, diverse casting. I haven't seen One Night in Miami, but apparently he's been highly rated in his performance. And it's nice to see, you know, a bit more of an up and comer get an opportunity. So, you know, what you can see here in terms of who they're recruiting, they're not huge names. But, you know, obviously Dwayne Johnson's going to be the big star of it, but they're surrounding him with more up and comers, which is a nice, interesting take. But again, some news which has come off of that is that Black Adam's been delayed because of COVID. So who knows when this is actually going to be going into production. And whether, you know, the thing is about this stuff is with all these films getting pushed back, what's going to be interesting to see is if these people have already got contracts in place, eventually it's going to be a point where their projects collide because studios are going to be pushing things back, and they're all going to be trying to film at the same time. People they're going to have to fall out of certain commitments because they're not going to be able to meet all the project demands and stuff like that, especially with the amount of movies that do like reshoots and stuff these days on pickup shots. So it's going to be a really interesting time. I think over the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to see a lot of actors having to drop out of roles because of other commitments.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
You'll be able to see this through.
That's exactly what happened with Nicholas Hoult with Mission Impossible, because he was supposed to be a big part of both new Mission Impossible movies.
Both the sequels, yeah. He was going to be like the main bad guy, I think, wasn't he?
One of the main bad guys. Yeah. I don't think he was the main bad guy.
The main, but yeah, one of them, yeah.
But yeah, he was supposed to be a villainous role, and he had to drop out. And I remember there was an interview with him. He was kind of gutted about it, man, because that was like
that
one
would
of his
That would have put him in a different league essentially, because he's in a big franchise. Tom Cruise. It would have put him in a different place than he is now. I mean, he's famous, but it would have put him. Whoa, he's a billboard. He's a face on the billboard now. He's not he doesn't need to be of anyone else. He'll be a bigger draw, and I can feel his pain. Oh, man, gutted. He must be gutted. Sorry, what we? First of all,
Hawkman.
Hawkman. Who is Hawkman?
Hawkman, Aldous Hodge. What you say?
Who is Hawkman?
He is basically. Don't quote me on this because my history of him is ripped off, but he's essentially like almost like an Egyptian god.
Right. So he's old. He's a bit like Apocalypse or something.
No. Think more like kind of like Thor, if I can.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
You know, so it's like he swings this giant mace around, and he's a hawk and he's worshipped and whatnot. But he is, kind of think similar vein of Thor in Avengers 1.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, he's a reincarnation of an ancient Egyptian prince named Khufu.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow.
But I think there's been different incarnations of him, right? Different people have been Hawkman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But it's the best way. I mean, looking at it, he's a sufficient choice. He's a really good actor, and he physically he can definitely do the business with it.
Was he in Aquaman?
No, that's
okay.
I can't pronounce his last name.
Oh, he's good. He's going to be like Morpheus. He's going to be the Morpheus character in the new Matrix film, right? The one that was in.
Yes. Well, he's in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I know where I am. Okay. Because
casting is a good thing. I think because of the nature of when Black Adam is supposed to be set, it allows Warner Brothers / DC to, and this is obviously, COVID willing, it allows them to basically set up characters and set things in place that have ramifications in the present day, but don't it's not going to force you to have to sit there and be like, oh my gosh, like I have to watch Black Adam or I'm not going to understand anything that takes place in any other film after it. It's sort of like, you can watch this devoid of everything else and still have a strong understanding of the film and enjoy the film.
Right. Yeah. So you can go into this film without having any prior knowledge about who he was. Okay, that's good then, because Black Adam I was only aware of because Dwayne Johnson kept going on about him, and through the years I've learnt about him. But in terms of the other people that supposed to surround that character, it's a bit of a mystery, a bit of a question mark. So maybe that's a better thing, because Guardians of the Galaxy was like that as well. Well, that's the thing, is you'll find that, Shazam is technically not the greatest example of that, but I think what you'll find is there's so much expectations on comic book movies in general, but B, there is like triple the amount of expectations on characters that are already quite well known. So, it's like your Spider-Man, your Captain America, your Iron Mans, these are people that even if you're not into comic books, you kind of know who Iron Man is. You kind of know who Captain America is prior to the MCU. It's not, you can't recite their backstory or anything like that, but you kind of knew who they were. People like the Guardians of the Galaxy, people like Doctor Strange, people like Black Adam, Shazam. They're not that household name that you just sit there and if somebody says, oh, this movie or this character's name, and you're like, okay, that kind of sounds familiar. And I think that having that luxury means that they can really just
push a film forward with good character actors. The only problem is you got Dwayne Johnson playing the main character. Like he ain't really gonna lose.
Right. Okay. Well, I if this film ever gets made, because it's been pushed back, right? Like I need to see, with like everything, I need to see images and trailers, just to get even with the Snyder Cut, the images that they're pushing out now, it's so wow, I actually want to see this. I never thought I would ever play that.
See this now, Joe?
No, but it's because it's so vastly different to the Josh Whedon one. I'm intrigued now because despite what Josh Whedon tried to do with it, it was a bit of a hot mess. And so, in hindsight, I'm so curious to see where he was going with this, I still think it was a bad idea to sideline Superman in the way that they've done in the film so far, but yeah, I do want to see it through. I want to see this nightmare scenario. Was it the dream sequence that Batman has?
Yeah,
I really want to see that come to fruition and see that. I mean, at this point, you're not going to beat Homelander in terms of sadistic, but I want to see a Superman that's angry, but not particularly sadistic, but just angry.
Yeah.
That is now interesting to me, and that's purely because of The Boys, essentially. Anyway, diverse, great actor for the role. He was good in the last film I saw him in was Invisible Man, and I really enjoyed that film more than I thought I would, and that's partly due to his presence and Elizabeth Moss' presence. So they both can carry a film. And have you? I want to see him in something else, and so yeah. I want to see images now. That's for someone who doesn't know. I need to see something now.
Yeah.
So yeah, bring it on. Okay. And Sach, you done? Have you covered everything that you want to cover with this?
Okay, next topic.
I take that as a yes.
According to MovieWeb, the Warcraft sequel is in the works. Despite the movie bombing domestically, it had a huge worldwide box office, mainly due to China. What are our thoughts on a sequel to Warcraft?
Never played the game, never watched the movie. Makes no difference to me.
I saw the movie on holiday, and it's a little corny around the edges. It feels like a movie that was made in the 90s. It doesn't. It wants to be Lord of the Rings, but it's not. And it's very evident that it's trying to do that. And I kind of felt dirty watching.
I just felt it lacked any kind of gravitas, man.
Yeah, it was.
I just felt it was another example where they were going big budget but afraid to go full hog. It was made on 160 million.
That's enough.
It made its budget back quite easily thanks to the worldwide box office. So, it did make a profit. It does warrant a sequel, but maybe not straight away. I think it does have a big enough fan base, but I don't even think it got all the hardcore gamers into it, because there was that guy
because they're at home playing Warcraft.
Yeah, they're probably at home playing Warcraft. Yeah. I mean, the CGI was really good, I felt. ILM did a fantastic job with the special effects.
I think it was wetter.
Was it wetter?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, maybe it was wetter.
James Cameron's guys, right?
Yeah. No, those are
Peter
Jackson's guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, James Cameron does, use them.
He utilizes
He's using
everyone.
them for Avatar. So yeah.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, James Cameron owns Lightstorm Entertainment, but they end up using ILM or Weta anyway. So
okay, yeah,
one of the two.
Yeah, or both. So you know, but yeah, no. The film didn't really do it for me, to be quite honest. I watched it, and I've played Warcraft, and you know, and it, you know what, it was faithful to the source material. But the thing is, with Warcraft, it's the reason why it's a hard one to adapt is because it has a lore, but there's no main character because you are the character. You create your character. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, well, who do you follow? Do you know what I mean? So in one aspect, it gives a writer of a movie free reins to create their own character and make a really decent movie. But I just felt the whole thing, even though the world was portrayed really, really well, it lacked what Lord of the Rings has, what Star Wars has, world building for an audience that has never been to that world before, if that makes sense. And it didn't, you know what I mean? You were just put in this universe expecting to know what's what, if that makes sense. And you didn't really have like a main character, and you didn't really have actors that you're familiar with, you know, because I'm not that familiar with who's the latest big name on TV. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm looking for the big name, and there was no big name, you know what I mean, that I knew of anyway. And for me to go, oh, John Travolta's character or Ian McKellen's character, or, do you know what I mean? Like
John Travolta, that film I would watch.
Well, I don't know, man.
If John Travolta was in Warcraft, that's. Have you not seen what was it? Earth something? Earth.
Battlefield Earth.
Yeah,
Battlefield.
That's the best comedy ever made.
I've never seen it.
It's the best comedy ever made. Ken, if you've not seen it, have a drink one night when you're with your missus. Watch Battlefield Earth. It's hilarity.
I have. I've spent many years trying to forget it, and now you brought it all back. So
I'm sorry.
Appreciate
it.
Sorry, man.
But I mean, with Warcraft, in saying
you know how much that therapy costs.
But I mean, in Warcraft, I mean, you know, it's been a few years. They could reboot it. I don't know whether it's a sequel they're making. If someone could quickly check that out, but I mean,
I suppose they could just focus on different characters if they wanted to, right? So it was 2016 the movie came out.
The thing, right, is with Warcraft, there were a couple of issues with it. One was, like you said, Sash, I feel like with the Warcraft film, they basically just, like you said, they just dropped you into the world with no real kind of heavy explanation of what's going on. But I feel like it was they attempted to draw it to people who played the game more than new audiences.
Yeah.
But the problem is the world of Warcraft, the game, is so vast. The lore and the history is so vast that you're like, you could drop anyone in at any moment. Like, you're dropping someone into the beginning. Like, you think...
I just realised we needed Chris Marland on this podcast because he'd be able to be... I'd be like, Chris, did you like it? At least get his, like, 2 seconds. In fact, I'm going to text him now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, in the US, it only earned $47.4 million.
Oof. Yeah.
Which is just dire. But it made $391 million worldwide. So 439, like Sash said, 160 million budget. So it stood as the highest grossing video game movie of all time until Detective Pikachu, but when that came out, knocked it off. But it's only rumors at the moment that it's in development, so there's nothing in terms of whether it's a sequel, different characters, same directors, writers, or anything like that. So it's literally like, yeah, this could be happening. So who knows?
You know the real problem is with Warcraft? The real problem with Warcraft is the same issue that I feel, to a degree, Star Wars has. The trailers for the games are better than what they put out as a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they should have done with the movie? They should have actually got Mr. T and put him in there.
Mr. T?
Yeah. Because if you...
Because he does the adverts for the games, isn't it? So,
well, no, I don't mean no. I mean the cinematic trailers that they did. You watch any of the cinematic trailers for like the Warcraft games. They are freaking epic. And it's just like, you know, the Knights of the Old Republic. You watch those trailers.
I know what you're talking about now.
Games, and it's like, you know, what they gave us with this sequel trilogy. Like I could spend half an hour watching those trailers for those games. And I'm more impressed that it's got a more coherent storyline.
Also directed by the director of Deadpool, Tim Miller.
I think studios sometimes miss an opportunity when they're trying to go for live action all the time and not have like more of these big like animated movies or realistic animated looking movies. I remember like a Final Fantasy movie when that came out and they did the animated version and stuff. That was fantastic. And you know, the cutscenes that they have in games now are just so epic. You just think, just do more of this, you know, just do the motion capture and just have a little bit more of this.
It's cheaper, that's for sure. Now.
Yeah, exactly. The best thing I've ever come in contact with in terms of Warcraft is a South Park episode. Which was that is all I need to know about Warcraft, and I'm okay with that.
That episode is brilliant. It's freaking brilliant. even the like it's on the side like this, like. I love it.
Okay, last one. Okay, so according to Andy Signor on Popcorn Planet, expect some major cameos from DC's past.
In what?
In the Flash movie. Like a lot of cameos. Thoughts? Who would you want to see?
I want to see Tom Cruise as Iron Man. Oh, gosh. Sorry, I had to do it, man.
It's all right. It's cool.
Yeah, just because it's the month of Halloween don't mean you will be tossing out tricks.
The only cameos that I can see realistically happening is you could throw a Green Lantern cameo in there if you wanted to.
Yeah, you'd do it.
So he's kind of within that universe. We already know that we're going to have the original Batman in there. Trouble is most of the other characters are probably killed off. So you could have Michelle Pfeiffer back as Catwoman.
I reckon she could still pull it off. I reckon she could.
Like,
could have Schwarzenegger back as Mr. Freeze.
I never thought about that.
Well, actually, no, because the trouble is they're only keeping the first two Batman in terms of continuity.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct.
They're removing Batman and Robin and all that kind of stuff. So,
is that confirmed though?
Or
is that just an assumption?
To be fair,
because realistically, the Burtonverse is really all four of those films.
The reason why they're writing those off is because they're bringing him back as Batman. They don't want him to be the same Batman as Val Kilmer and
George Clooney.
Yeah. So, you know, they just want it to be, okay, that's your Batman. He's gotten old now and all those other things, you know, don't worry about it. So, yeah, because Penguin got killed. Jack Nicholson got killed. Joker got killed. So, yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer, his butler died. So, you know, Superman movies.
Robin, yeah.
Superman movies.
Chris O'Donnell.
Gene Hackman, you know, would he come out of retirement?
Doubtful.
They ain't going to be using Kevin
Spacey. No one touches him anymore because he touches other people. It's hard. You know, it's hard to think about in terms of universes, like how many of those are actually around that you could actually have cameo. They had the one in the Arrowverse, the reporter from the original Batman and stuff like that. But
the thing that I was going to say is
Billy D.
Oh, Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, man, he yes. His Two-Face.
Yes.
For that. But I think for me, the issue is when they're like, oh, expect major cameos from DC's past. I'm like, look, you're a year, you're whatever year the film comes out, you're however many years too late. Because I'm like, if you think of people's obviously, like excluding, your Christian Bale or excluding your Brandon Routh, when you think about it, when you essentially think of Batman, you think of Michael Keaton. When you think of Superman, you think of Chris Reeves. But most people get recycled into things. Supergirl, you had, I forget the actress's name, but you had the one who was the original Wonder Woman.
Oh, Linda Carter.
Yeah,
Linda Carter, right? Linda Carter is in Supergirl. The original Supergirl is in Supergirl. You think, all right, Chris Reeves when he was alive, he was in Smallville. You think John Wesley Snip, the original Flash, he was in the Flash TV show. It's just this thing of, because in the TV show they reuse character. Dean Cain is in Supergirl. It's all these people where you're like, oh yeah, well, you know what, we're gonna recycle them, and they wind up in TV shows. Granted, not everyone watches these TV shows, but the point remains that you've recycled them enough that you reutilize them as the original person that they played, and depending on the high levels of exposure that those characters had, it's lost in the shuffle. Like, major things from DC's past. Bro, DC's past is far enough back,
Yeah, I mean, I guess they can get away with it because it's multiverse, right? So it's not the same Earths. You have the fact that Ezra Miller already has been in the Arrowverse, so he did that cameo. So you could have the reverse of Grant Gustin going the other way. Stephen Amell could appear as a Green Arrow. They could do it that way. I don't think they'll probably cross the Christian Bale movies over. They could, whether they have that Batman or whether they have Scarecrow or. Could they get Tom Hardy back as Bane, or something like that? It all depends on whether they're going to have clips, whether they're going to have Flash running through different time zones, or whether they're going to be more central to the plot. You'd imagine that these are going to be quick cameos for a quick win, as opposed to being integral, other than Keaton's Batman. Obviously, Affleck's supposed to be in there as well, right? So how much screen time are each going to share? Because I think they've established the DC fandom that the Batman of the Keaton's Batman is the one who develops Flash's new suit. So he's going to be a lot more integral, I think, to that storyline than Affleck's Batman and all the others and stuff like that. I think it's going to be more him running through time and seeing different things, stopping at different points and witnessing these other characters in cameos. That's how I see it. But who knows how it's going to play out. But when you actually look back, the amount of actors who are actually available and who actually are still alive is quite limited. Could have Keanu Reeves.
John Constantine,
Constantine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We could have Rorschach. Depends if they want Watchmen in there.
Oh, no.
Again, it ties to the things of, even if you look at it and say the people who are alive as actors, look at the characters who are dead. As you said, Jack Nicholson's Joker, dead. Danny DeVito's Penguin, dead. Bane, dead.
Heath Ledger, as an actor, has passed.
All right, as an actor, he's passed, but the Joker technically still alive. Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't touch that thing with a 10-foot batarang. But there's as you said, Ken, their options are very, very limited. In what they could throw up on screen, that they would really want to throw up on screen.
However, it's time travel, right? So who's to say at what point do they go back and meet these people? You could have Danny DeVito dress up again and he could go back and be Penguin, because, it could be at that point. You have a Keaton. Well, then he shows up at that time. With time travel, I suppose anything is possible from the actors themselves who are alive as opposed to the characters. But obviously, they've got so many actors who've passed, which makes it more difficult. Unless they go CGI, where they have the rights to that, would they do something like with Superman and Christopher Reeves, and having digitally?
I reckon they could.
Who knows?
That would be.
If done tastefully, it could be okay.
Yeah, that would be worth it.
But
just to see that.
Brandon Routh is Superman. He could be in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you know, he came back and did Superman in terms of Arrowverse. You could have that same Superman, Kingdom Come version, which is one from his returns. So they got some options.
Mm.
I'll say this: Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the alternate Batman.
Thomas Wayne's Batman.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get that. I think,
but that's you. Just the question was, who would you like to see? So
I'd like to see that.
That's what I would like
Definitely.
to see.
And who would you have? And then there was the other girl from Walking Dead as female Joker, right? Because in that universe,
Laura Cohen.
Yeah,
Laura Cohen. Sorry,
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see that. Because that one's going to be different.
Because she, like, if you see her. Like, and I don't mean this is a disrespect, but the way her facial features, she's got quite big eyes, quite a really big smile. Like, you apply just the right amount of makeup to that, you can get you that evil Joker look.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? This may be the play that they go for in terms of Ben Affleck's Batman, because what you'll have is actually instead of Dean Morgan, what will happen is he'll be in the presence of the Batman as we know it in terms of Batfleck, because obviously you're going to have Justice League. He'll then go back in time or go to a Flashpoint alternate universe. That's where he meets the Keaton Batman. Yeah. And that may end up being, you know, they can't necessarily call him Thomas Wayne, but that'll be the alternate version. Then by the time the movie goes back, he'll probably go back to Batfleck's version of Batman. You know, so maybe that is kind of where it ties. Affleck will be at the beginning of the end, but then you have Keaton in the middle guiding Flash, and maybe they tie that into the fact that when he time jumped in Justice League or Batman vs Superman to Batfleck, you know, and stuff like that, and tie all that in together. So, yeah.
This is just a comic book. Yeah, this is just a hella comic book nerd in me, but I feel like they missed that one emotional cue that came from the Flashpoint comic, which was Thomas Wayne writing a letter to Bruce.
I was just trying to think of that. How could they do that?
Yeah.
But because they're going with Keaton, unless there is just another scene with another Thomas Wayne, you know, we haven't ruled that out, right? Keaton coming back as Batman could be about 30 minutes of the movie, 45 minutes of the movie. It might be a small part. And then he moves on to another one where he actually meets Thomas Wayne, and then you get that letter written. And then you give Batman a chance to cry on screen, and Affleck will show his acting chops and show the vulnerability and get that Oscar. No,
wishful thinking, but it could anything could happen. Look at 2020.
You know what? With the state of DC kind of thing, with like the multiverses and the fact that they're committed to making standalone films and stuff with different characters. This is unrelated. This is just me being a fan, etc. What do you reckon? Do you think there's a chance Ben Affleck could direct his Batman movie?
Yeah,
I think now.
I reckon that's going to be an HBO Max thing.
Yeah,
I think Warner Brothers have let him down too much that he wouldn't do it for them. I think he might be interested in doing it, but I think he feels like he got really burnt and mistreated, and kind of just he was promised the world, and they taking things away bit by bit. Yeah. So I don't think he would do it for the studio. I think anything to do with Zack Snyder, and he's doing it as a favor. But saying that, if he's coming back for Flashpoint, there must be something there, right? Because otherwise, I'm done.
Well, this is just it. Jeff Jones.
Is it just a money talk? So we just need you for one day's filming to the beginning and the end of the movie, payday, and then that's your character written out. Maybe that's it. Who knows?
It could be, but I mean, to touch on, exactly what I believe Sacha was going to say is that between Jeff Johns and a lot of the other people who were up at Warner Brothers / DC at the time when
they've left, haven't they?
They've all been fired or left.
Have been fired or left. They've essentially wiped the slate clean of all his frustrations, and I feel like a lot of it hinges on the reception of Snyder.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's going to be the biggest thing out next year because everything's been pushed. So
definitely.
Towards the end of this year, we're going to get April to mid. After that, they've got a big opportunity with that. And what HBO needs to figure out is how they're going to launch HBO Max worldwide. Because what other platforms is that movie going to be coming out on over here? True. You know, that's good. If they don't sort that out, that's a huge pirating risk for them in terms of people going to be wanting to download that stuff all over the place. Think about Mandalorian, that if they'd had the UK release the same time as America and the other countries, that would have had more subscriptions at the time. But a lot of people tried to source it elsewhere. But if you go and find the Creative Control Episode 1 podcast, we talk about the DC Extended Universe and what we would do with it.
I see what you did there.
I do feel that, like, Jeff Jones leaving, that's probably one of the aces for Affleck to come back, considering
that's true.
You know, it was reported that Jeff Jones, very late in the script development, was added to the writing list for writing that with Affleck, and it's been confirmed now that they had big creative differences, mainly because Jeff Jones wanted to put a sledgehammer over anything that Zack Snyder set up, because he was the guy that brought in Joss Whedon. He was the guy that wanted Zack Snyder fired off of Justice League, and he didn't like the way, you know, things were going, because he's a comic guy and he felt he knew best. And that's why Joss Whedon was hired, because he'd done Avengers and they wanted it to be more like Avengers. So who better than to get the Avengers guy to do Avengers for Justice League? The only problem is, I think Joss Whedon would have worked had he had been given creative control from the beginning, and he didn't have to work off other people's shit, if that makes sense. And we probably would have got a film more that would have flowed a lot better with, you know, original ideas under Whedon, to be quite honest, because Whedon's not a rubbish writer, and he's definitely not a rubbish screenwriter. He just took a job, and he was put in a position. He put himself in a position that he really shouldn't have been in, you know. As for Jeff Jones, he'd never been a movie producer before in his life. It was kind of new to him, and for whatever reason, he interfered probably when he shouldn't have, and he pissed off Ben Affleck pretty hardcore. Because at the same time, as a producer for the studio, he also had a mandate, and that mandate was to push in a villain like the Riddler, who, lo and behold, we're getting in the Batman, you know, because Warner Brothers, you know, they don't really want to take risks on villains that we don't know, you know, that we don't know. They want to, because it's a reboot, they wanted to go with established villains. The reason why they never had Riddler in the Dark Knight trilogy, they actually pushed it hard for The Dark Knight Rises, but because Christopher Nolan is Christopher Nolan, and Inception, what basically cemented him as a powerhouse director, they weren't going to argue with Nolan. You know what I mean? They were like, okay, fine, cool. But if you fuck up, you're doing another one of these films, and he didn't. You know what I mean? So they've been pushing the Riddler agenda for a time, and Affleck's script, he wanted Black Mask, he wanted Deadshot, Deathstroke, sorry, and Will Smith's character in the movie, much like the Arkham Origins game, you know. And he, you know, his script, his first draft apparently was a really solid Batman script. Well, that's what the insiders are saying, but that all fell apart because of the addition of Jeff Jones, who tried to push the Riddler and tried to push other mandates on him. And then if you look at all the news sources from when Jeff Jones came, that's when Ben Affleck was doing sidesteps. You know what I mean? And
they can have a scene in Flashpoint where it pays homage back to Justice League, where, you know, he throws a batarang at the Flash and he kind of watches it go past. I wanted to do that, but not catch it, let it hit a wall, kills a spider, and he's like, I hate spiders. If you know, you know.
Oh, God. Saying that, I watched Justice League recently. The reshoots are quite evident because 1 minute Affleck has stubble, next minute he's clean shaven. And they actually do an establishing shot, which is blatantly a reshoot, because they've got a shot of him shaving while he's with that talking to Alfred. And you're like, okay. And the first scene where he's fighting the Parademon, they kind of mask his, you know, his jawline. They kind of mask his jawline with like motion blur. So, you know, it's weird, man. It's really weird. But I did think it was funny when he just show up with stubble and sharp, clean shaven. And considering he was clean shaven quite a lot of the movie, it makes me think the Snyder cut is going to be very, very different to what we're going to get. So
he said not a single frame that came out from Joss Whedon's version is going to be in his version.
Wow.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Jeez. Fighting words.
Now, you could say that because he'll take a frame and tweak it, so it's not exactly the same. But yeah, there's nothing going to be lifted direct. Everything's going to be remanipulated.
You know what? Richard Donner said the same thing with the Donner cut.
Hey, he's not using any of Richard Lasseter's.
Yeah, he didn't use anything with Richard Lester stuff. So, but yeah. All right, I guess that's it. It's a wrap.
Yeah. Okay, I guess the only thing left to do is plugs. I'll go straight to Ken for that one. Anything to plug, Ken?
I don't know if I mentioned this, but I've got a new podcast out. It's called Creative Control. You can find me on Twitter at Kenan Talks Film. You can find the podcast on YouTube if you type in Creative Control. But if you go to my Buzzsprout website, that's BUZZSPROUT, to see my podcast, you can download it from all the different links from that website. So you can get your Apple, Spotify links, everything from there. So Buzzsprout, Creative Control.
Okay. And Sach, anything to plug?
Nothing to plug, but follow me on Twitter. I post loads of video game imagery from all the crazy games I'm playing. Quite recently, Catherine, which is a really fucked up game. So, like, if you're
on Twitch, bro,
crazy stuff.
Yeah, get on Twitch, man.
I don't really pimp out my Twitch.
You pimp it on Twitter, pimp it here, man.
Okay, I'm on Twitch, /man3 on Twitch. I'm not officially like on there with like my face and like, you know, interacting with people. But what you will find is like video footage of me talking to my peeps on Call of Duty, getting in adventures, and me dying lots and causing the team to lose. So
am I being filmed when I'm playing Call of Duty with you?
Possibly.
I might sign no waivers. I gotta be careful what I say from now on.
Possibly. Oh, don't worry, Leo doesn't. The thing is, if you break their rules, they just don't put it on their things.
Oh, so basically you don't Twitch when Leo's on.
Yeah, no, I don't because he says so much bad shit that they just take us down, man. So
his YouTube's in the what's it? Twitch is in this worst nightmare. What about you, Neil? Anything to plug?
Yeah, I mean, I'm part of this, podcast that no one's really brought it up yet. I think it's called Creative Control.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, you can find it on a few places.
Never heard of it.
But that's about it.
Okay. And if you're watching this podcast public, then you know where to find it. I won't plug anymore, but it's on YouTube, Zedos Gang. And that's also there's a link to the Creative Control podcast as well. And so just go to the YouTube page or the Soundcloud page or the Twitter page, and you can find the links, just as Ken said as well. Links to everything. So have it, enjoy it, and if you don't, even any comment any comment or like is a win for us. So
yes.
Go for it. And that is it on the Zedos Game podcast. This is the Zedos Club podcast, and we're out.
Go on, do it. Come on.
I am the man that killed Jamie Lannister.